Attention! Please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
I didn't really grow up on comic books, and so I know. I'm such a poor, sad, sorry.
You're uncultured swine!
Nerd On.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need, but the one you deserve.
Dude, one take. Well done.
I know.
Finally.
Where all nerds are welcome, whether you like DC movies or Marvel movies or even the Dark Horse movies.
Or both.
Or both.
Or both.
Or all of them.
You can
or
like
if you
all of them.
Just watch movies for entertainment.
Or the Fox Cinematic Universe. Whatever that was.
Yeah, what would you call that? Is it the Fox Cinematic Universe?
I call it a disaster.
Yeah. Well, it started off so strong. Anyway, Tom, what are we talking about today?
We are going to talk about Justice League, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
We are?
Yeah.
Oh,
70 years in the making.
Oh shit! I'm not prepared.
We literally created this podcast 70 years in advance because we knew this movie was going to come out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But first, we need to introduce ourselves. My name is Tom. I am the resident comic book nerd and film snob, but I will change it up a little bit. I do have a DC bias, but I'm going to see if I can quell that bias today with being very analytical, as you know.
You do that.
To my right is...
Yes. Look at that. I'm Josh. Just Josh. I do the audio for the show. That's all I do. Oh, and some social media.
That's
stuff
all it's good for.
And images. Like Ollie.
You do the hard work. The work that no one wants to do. I'm kidding. We all want to do all the work. It's great. Ali, I am your resident YouTuber, broadcaster, and lover of all things Batman. The Batman.
The Batman.
As it were.
Like your shirt.
Exactly.
Like my shirt. Exactly like my shirt.
Wow, I'm surprised you saw it under the sweater like that. I'm impressed.
I have small eyes. Doesn't mean they're not useful.
Means they can see through small spaces.
They can.
Okay.
I'm Coco Pelli, the deity of fertility. And I'm just here to have a good time.
That means he has a big butt.
It does, and I play the flute.
Nothing.
So yes, let's get right into it. Justice League. Initial reactions.
The Just Us League.
Yeah, we all just watched it. It's been a week. Made a dismal $90 million in the box office, but like a $280 million worldwide. Nothing as great as like Thor Ragnarok
Or Wonder Woman.
or Spider-Man this year. But still, we see it's going to make its budget back. You know, and I don't know if DC is going to continue steamrolling through, but
Appears to be the way.
Yeah.
That they're doing it. Yeah.
Corey, you want to start with your initial reaction of what you thought about the
Oh,
film?
man.
Oh, dang.
Let's talk about where we watched it.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. We need to stop for just a quick second. Everybody at home, it's good that this is a audio podcast because if it were video, we would have to blank out things. I have a feeling that there is
'Cause I'm
going to
butt
be
naked.
violence. Yeah, Tom's butt naked. Ollie is in a loincloth. It's craziness.
And I have 6 sweaters on.
As well, spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Spoilers galore.
Heavy spoilers.
So many spoilers because turns out this is not a review show.
No.
We're not going to hint. We are going to full on get in there and talk about it.
Analyze.
Dissect the shit out of this
Yes.
Peel those
so there
layers
will
back.
be specifics.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
In fact, if we didn't have specifics, I don't think we could do it. So I'll go first. I already know I'm going to be the grump of the episode. I'd be Grumpy Corey of the
That's okay.
episode.
Doesn't have a nice ring to it.
I'm going to start off. I saw this at the Chinese Theater with Tom, which was my first time ever
Shout out
going.
to Tom.
Which was the coolest experience ever. What a dope
Yeah?
theater that is. We
It
went
is
to the,
cool,
the
yeah.
main theater there.
Yeah.
I had never been there. We saw
The Killing
Joke, but it was in one of the smaller theaters. Anyway, so the curtain goes up. Overall, not my favorite. But there were parts I really enjoyed. So going in, I knew I was already going to be invested in Diana or Wonder Woman's story because that movie was like one of the top of the list for the year for me.
Yeah.
So I knew going in that that's who I was going to, I think, kind of relate to the most, I guess, in a sense. And I did. By the end of it, I was like, Wonder Woman was my favorite part of that movie. I loved Aquaman. I think Aquaman's going to be dope. I hope. I really like Jason Momoa, and I liked the scenes that they had together in Atlantis, and watching his character develop was really cool. Had some qualms with the Flash. Loved J.K. Simmons as the Commish. I think that was probably the thing I'll say about DC films is that the casting's great. I think they fucking nailed it with casting on pretty much almost everybody.
Shout out to Jared Leto.
You beat me to it.
Shout out to Jesse Eisenberg.
The Riddler, right? But all in all, I had a really fun time watching it. I will get deeper into it, but that's just kind of my gut reaction overview.
Initial reaction.
For me, I'm going to say that I'm aggressively meh about this movie. I want to love it. Like, it's one of those movies you take any screenshot from any of the scenes, and it's like an instant poster that would look awesome on your wall.
It's like a joygasm just looking at it.
Yeah,
It's a very commercial look.
yeah, very commercial look. But I just had issues with like the plot, the pacing, and like ultimately like how like the villain is handled, and kind of like how it's like a trend with the DC movies that I'm noticing of how they're handling villains and how they're presenting the like extended lore to you. But we'll go over that a little more detail. But that was kind of the big issue that I had with the movie, as opposed to like, because I thought like the character interactions were probably the strongest between the actual like Justice League members. As far as like what I enjoyed watching in the movie.
Yeah.
In addition to Wonder Woman, because she's awesome.
I like how so far it was okay, but Wonder Woman was amazing.
Yeah. Well, she is. I mean,
Yeah, she
that
is.
movie was dope.
I love that movie.
She can do no wrong.
Yeah. Before the show, we were talking about our rating in terms of a hand gesture. Mm-hmm. And have you ever seen Gladiator when he's got his thumb up or down? Everybody's was kind of shaking in the middle.
Yeah.
Corey's was kind of tilting towards the south, but not all the way. Not all the way to the south.
No, never.
He was okay. It was, you kind of watch it and you're really excited about it, and it was just kind of meh through the whole thing. There were a few things that I was like, I'm rolling my eyes right now. There's some of it that it was just so dumb to me. Like, it's a little hokey.
This is East.
I feel that the DC movies are a little hokey, in terms of the way that, like, the acting. Oh man, Tom is.
It's okay, Tom. We're gonna get into it. We'll get into
Why
it.
do I have to sit next to Tom?
So do I.
Why did Tom have to do Arms Day today?
I guess
no.
that should that bring us to Tom at this point?
Yeah. So initial reaction. I watched it Chinese theater on Friday night. Chinese theater is one of the theaters that like really kind of I'm gonna reserve this experience for myself. I watched Force Awakens there, and I watched BVS there. And watching this here, I was in the same boat at first. I was very like, you know what? This is just very okay. Mm-hmm. Very okay. And I talked to Corey a while ago about how Aaron Sorkin said anyone can make beef, and you can make beef in different ways. And the number one way that you don't piss as many people off is you give them a burger from McDonald's. But as a chef, you don't want to make that. And this was a burger. This was something that was like very safe, very vanilla. It didn't dare to go far.
Right.
Because of all the flack that DC gets. And I watched it a second time. I don't know if anyone else did. No?
I should have.
No.
So I watched it a second time in a smaller theater in North Hollywood, and I enjoyed it at least 4 times as much.
Okay.
4 times?
At least 4 times as much. And it was really interesting because at that point I was kind of just, when I first watched it, it was very like, let's see where it goes. Let's see what it's trying to mean. Let's see the symbolism and the connotation with the sociopolitical world that I think DC tries to do a lot of the times. That I feel like Marvel doesn't, which we'll get into in a little bit. But this, watching the second time, I was just like, let's just see the 3-act structure. Let's just see how it tries to develop the characters in the sense of the film and how to ensemble the team. And it does it very by the numbers. very by the numbers, and it's okay. It's fine. It does it well. It's not spectacular, but then for me, I was like, I wasn't mad. I wasn't angry watching it. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm enjoying it. There's parts here, and it's weird. Like I was remembering the parts where it's like I wanted more of this, I wanted more of that, and then I'm seeing like, okay, I could see that. I could see that. I could see that. I could see that. There's definitely glaring things like the CGI and stuff like that, but like, you know, watching the second time really helped out a lot. Which, you know, you could always take it at that point where it's like, well, if you had to watch it 2 times in order to enjoy it, then what does that say about the film itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I take that with a grain of salt because there are films that I think have taken me a couple times to watch.
Yeah.
And that could be me, not, you know, less of the film than me. So I think maybe in your case it was less of the film because maybe the first time was a gut reaction.
Thinking about it, I did enjoy Batman vs Superman significantly more.
Was this theatrical
second
cut
time.
or the ultimate?
I think it was the full version now that I saw the second time.
But yeah, I mean, I left. I wasn't angry. I mean, I was angry at one thing. I don't think they did justice to the Flash at all. I thought at least Barry Allen's Flash. I think it was Wally West who would have killed it. But that was the only thing that specific line too. I hope this is East. This is definitely East. It hit me in the gut, and I dropped it like it was hot. After that, I was like, God damn it.
We're not at qualms yet.
I know. But my point is, I left still having been like, that was fun. It was a fun movie, but I think I agree with you saying it was very safe, which is strange because I think, you know, they were like, oh well, let's respond to the fan feedback, but they went too far the other way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So talking about that, let's go into like some specifics about the film, right? So we know Zack Snyder left at 3/4 of the film.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he still was able to retain director credit. And then Joss Whedon came in, and so they can't write as like co-directed or anything like that. So on credit and billing, it says a screenplay and story.
They wrapped principal, right?
Yeah.
No.
I thought
No?
so.
No, he didn't wrap principal. Like there was still like some
still
chunks
some
that
stuff.
Joss needed to do,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
he was going to direct all of the additional too.
Okay.
So, 3/4 of the film. And Joss, you know, has been known in the Marvel universe to script doctor everything. And Joss is slated to do Batgirl. So it was made sense, you know, get the guy who made Marvel what it is today to, you know, do it. When I actually kind of attribute that to John Favreau.
I was going to say I as well attribute that to John Favreau.
Because that
and
made the
Kevin
polish
Feige.
for everything. Yeah, exactly. So we know that Joss now has directed 1/4 of the film, fired Junkie XL, and then put Danny Elfman in there. Danny Elfman utilized his own score and also used some of John Williams' original Superman score, which is interesting.
By the way, also one of my favorite moments in Justice League was when they have the bat signal on and it pans up to Batman and you just hear the fucking animated theme song
Yeah.
or the Tim Burton movies, just that da-da-da-da-da. Tom and I
Yeah.
both leaned over and were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I fanboyed
Which
real
the film
hard.
is chock full of like really those like, oh, that's awesome moments. What else is there? Kevin Tsujihara, the Warner Brothers executive, big honcho, mandated that the film be no more than 2 hours. So
Okay.
it's at a very slim 121 minutes, which is slow on all cinematic universe movie comic book standards. I think the only thing that's shorter than that's like Deadpool.
Yeah.
I don't even think at that point.
Which I wanted more of by the end of that film.
Was it
by
just
the
so
way.
they could play more per day?
Well, I think it's kind of to Corey's point where there's so much backlash that people are like, it's long, it's contrived, you can't tell a story in 2.5 hours, so you can't tell a story at all. So it's like, make it lean, make it short, make it easy, go ahead. Bye-bye. Here's your happy
Got
meal
it.
toy.
So what was Avengers? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
No.
Well, I'll look it up while he has a point to make, I think.
Really cool fact that I love is that this film came out November 17th, 2017, 16 years after Justice League animated series came out. And that was that was the Bruce Timm animated
nice.
series that we mentioned before from the Batman animated series, kind of spawned the Superman animated, then the new Adventures of Batman and Robin, then Batman Beyond, and then Justice League. And so it's like all this stuff is like really connected. And to me, I felt like DC really, really tried hard to like appeal to some loyal comic book fans by not introducing, but just kind of like giving a little bit of a fan service. And the tough thing is for casual movie goers, they're like, why does this matter? Why is it such a big deal if like the Flash and Superman race?
Yeah.
But it's a really big deal for a lot of comic book fans. So there's that.
That is something I liked about it. I know some
Yeah.
people had some issues with that little post-credit scene, but I thought that was actually one of the highlights of Flash in this movie.
Yeah.
Was that little moment. So
It was fun. I think you said it best. It was like I didn't walk out angry. I was like, oh, that was fun. I had kind of a stressful time getting to the theater, but I watched it and I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yep.
There were some laughing moments. There were moments where the audience was clapping, which was kind of cool.
Oh.
That was really fun when the audience was getting into it. And like when certain characters would come on or when it ended, people clapped. I'm like, yeah, that's fun. That's cool.
super cool.
Yeah.
I like those kind of moments.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, I mean, so let's just like talk about the film
Yeah.
in general. So I mean, it's like Batman getting into the swing of things. You know, the synopsis say fueled by his restored faith in humanity because of Superman's sacrifice, Batman and Wonder Woman go and recruit the help of the Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman to fight a new threat, which is Steppenwolf.
Yep.
And I think a big thing that a lot of people missed, and the tough thing is for the comic book fans, they know Steppenwolf is a stepping stone to Darkseid, and Darkseid is the big bad of the universe.
And they have one line in the movie about that.
It's like
Yeah,
for
it's name
Darkseid.
dropped.
Yeah.
It's like for unity for Darkseid, but it's
Yeah.
a very undertoned way. And the thing is, like, no one kind of knows like what this means. He's like, okay, he's some CGI villain, which is a big qualm that a lot of people had.
It's one of my biggest issues with The Hobbit, actually.
So, I mean, so throughout the film, Batman and Wonder Woman are, you know, kind of after the events of Batman vs Superman, you see the world at a place where it's quote unquote no hope. And I think that was really the message they were trying to push: is that without Superman, there's no hope. There's no S.
Yeah. That introduction of Wonder Woman in the Justice League was so cool.
Yeah.
I loved every second of that. And just seeing, you know, because the last time we see her use her abilities is, World War One or World War
One.
Yeah, World War One. It was going to be two, wasn't it? And they changed it. Anyway, World War One, and so to see how far her abilities have come in that span.
Oh, yeah.
And how much quicker she is, and you know what I mean.
Stronger
It was
and-
so cool. I loved every second of that action sequence. Every single second.
It was
Yeah.
funny. Like I remember when that scene, you know, the opening sequence where you see Wonder Woman, what she's been up to, and she's like this hero now. And for some reason, I just got reminded of Linda Carter. You know, the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
Because her big thing was like, I can deflect bullets, and she would just like put her arms up, and it looks like she's dancing. And I was like, I wonder how they're gonna do it, because the way that Patty Jenkins did it in Wonder Woman was just very kind of like slow mo, and you would see it's more just very choreographed. But Zack Snyder's a very visual, hands-on director, so it's very much like he's gonna do it in such a way where it's CGI and it's gonna look really cool. Because to me, I think hands down, Zack Snyder's got like some of the best CGI fights
Yeah.
out there. Fight me. You can fight me all day you want. Man of Steel had like
It's
some
just
of the
it's
dopest
framed well
fights.
and
Yeah.
people in the right positions that just
Yeah.
look awesome.
Yeah,
So
to me,
it goes a long way.
Yeah, it kind of feels like something that you'd see in Square Enix stuff, and you're like, dude, this is dope. Why don't they have this shit in movies? And you're like, oh, okay, it's
like box art.
Yeah,
Well, I
all
mean,
the time.
I think that's something I give DC credit for, and I think I said this in our initial like reaction on Friday. Was like, Zack Snyder is really good at
panel to picture.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you look at 300, right, where there are literal, like 90% of the film, if you look at it towards the graphic novel, are shot for shot, detail for detail from the panel. So not only does it look visually cool on film for people who aren't familiar, but people who are familiar with those kind of stories, it's a little something more as well. And I think he really nailed that with this film. There's a lot of cool moments where you're like, that is straight out of a fucking comic book.
One of my favorite parts was the bat signal, them going to Gordon, and just the way
Oh, yeah.
Batman came down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
This is it.
that was so cool.
No, and then I mean, even like the poster, the "You Cannot Save the World Alone," like the high contrast and the shadow eyes, is like straight out of Alex Ross. And
I was
Alex
going to
Ross,
say that.
Yeah, Alex Ross is like, he's known for drawing, you know, the superheroes
Ultra realistic,
ultra
right?
realistic, and having human models. And there's even art exhibits. And I remember if you used to go to like a Warner Brothers like retail store, they would have like pieces of art of Alex Ross, like like
prints.
drawings. Yeah,
And
prints.
his stuff is what inspired Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Superman coming from home where he's like in this Clark Kent outfit and his like shirt's open so you see the S, but he's like asleep on his couch. And it's like showing the reality of like even superheroes get tired.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's
it's beautiful.
Inspired M. Night to do
Unbreakable,
which I
but-
thought was really
yeah.
cool. But back to the point.
Yeah, what
I
is
think,
the point?
Well, no, I think that is exactly what I mean. Visually speaking, and they shoot on film too, which is another thing I think DC does a little better. That makes their films look a little more comic booky in the sense where it's on film, it's beautiful as opposed to Marvel's all digital, I believe, right?
Yes. So for all the
Gives it
film
that
snobs,
depth.
yeah, for all the film snobs, I mean, film is a chemical reaction. Digital is something that's just captured, and then they try to color correct and replicate to make it look like film. But the thing is, color specifically is really hard to emulate. So a lot of digital does, they do it in gray. They do it very flat. And so what you would notice,
And then add the color after.
yeah, I'll give you guys some homework. If you look on the corner of the screen, if you see anything that's black, compare it to the end of the screen that you're watching in the movie theater. If you see a difference, you can tell it's digital because you'll see a little bit of gray, and that's a terminology called true black. You do not get true blacks with digital unless they're color corrected very, 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 very well. With film, true black all day, every day.
Yeah.
So
And it's a higher resolution.
it's higher resolution, and the thing is, like, Marvel's gotten a lot of flack for the fact they shoot digital and everything looks mucky and gray and all that stuff. But the thing, it works to their advantage in actuality because it's an aesthetic that looks real. Looks real world.
Yeah.
Looks like our
Yeah.
world. It looks like what crime dramas used to look like. But in the other sense, we could be on the other camp side where you want this fantastic world with heroes, with vibrance, and
slightly
color.
above like
Right.
reality.
And that was my main issue with Man of Steel is that he had desaturated it to a point where Superman's flying against a gray sky as opposed to a blue sky, which is, as far as I mean, when I used to be I'm a bigger Flash fan now. When I was younger, I was a huge Superman fan. And that was something that was really important to me is he's supposed to be this thing of hope for a brighter day. And I really missed that color in Man of
Vibrance,
Steel. Yeah, right. Vibrance. Yeah. And I think they brought it back for Batman vs. Superman, which was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and you could see it just in the yellow of his suit. It's just very like dull yellow, and then all of a sudden, Batman vs Superman, it's like Jesus. He's wearing like Royal Navy blue, and it's like
Yeah.
golden and
It's
red.
beautiful, though. I
Looks
loved
good.
it.
And I mean, you could look at the Dark Knight trilogy. Batman Begins is orange, Dark Knight is blue, and then The Dark Knight Rises is white. Like they have color palettes you can see, and sometimes in Marvel films, just looks bits of gray. And that's kind of like a weird, very aesthetic big thing of it. Anyways, but I mean, with Justice League movie, just Batman and Wonder Woman end up getting the entire team together.
I just wanted to say something real quick, but just because I haven't said much.
Sure.
Anyway, I appreciate the darkness of like the DC movies, like the.
So I'm not talking about tone of the movie.
No. I'm talking a little bit about both. Like visually, it's a little darker, but it's also the grand feel of the movies is a little bit
weight.
darker. The weight of it, yeah, the
I agree.
tone. Like I appreciate that. I think for me, as we've discussed in previous episodes, my burden. I didn't really grow up on comic books, and so I know. I'm such a poor, sad, sorry.
You're uncultured swine.
I know. But I what I'm thinking about now is that when it comes to comic books, in terms of like hero comic books, and again, it's just like any kind of music or anything, it's like, well, then you're just not reading the right comics. It's like there are some things that I'm like, okay, I just really don't care.
Yeah.
And it's not gritty enough, or it's not, it's like I like reading the hero comics that are gritty, that I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so when I see a superhero movie doesn't make sense because the Marvel movies are so bright and fantastic and whatnot, and the DC ones are so gritty, and I love the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What's my point? I don't know what my point is.
Well, I
but-
think I agree. I think DC does well, especially with Batman. Like if you
Yeah.
look at the Nolan films, there's nothing wrong with dark and gritty, right?
Yeah.
But I think for me, I'm going to bring this back to Justice League a little bit, and this may be, I think it's a trifecta of things going on. I think it's the studio's trying to pander to what Marvel's established as far as the
Yeah.
fan base goes and what people expect from superhero movies.
Yeah.
B, I think it's a little bit of Joss Whedon putting maybe too much of his own flair into Snyder's universe.
Yeah.
And I think the third issue that's kind of going on is that they kind of lost a tone with this by playing it safe. So I think
Yeah.
those three things combined with Justice League. Do you agree a little bit with that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like you're touching on a lot of good points, and I want to make sure we get to all of those points because, like, specifically, when Marvel came out, you wouldn't hear blogs and articles saying like what they should have done,
Yeah.
and there wasn't this huge outcry. People were like, Marvel should just do what Star Wars did. Marvel should just do what Lord of the Rings did. You never heard that, but now now that we have cinematic universes, you always hear that. DC should just do its own thing. DC should just do what Marvel did. DC should have done this. It's never just like, why don't you let it be what it is? And I think that's the tough thing. And typically, for right now, you'll probably look at all the articles is how DC's identity is consistently changing.
Yeah.
Because
Which it is.
Because like the Dark Knight trilogy made it one thing. The Dick Donner Superman, saga made it another thing.
Yeah.
And so you go from like a super hopeful, he has nothing to do but foil Lex Luthor's weird real estate plans to now you have a crime drama like noir thriller Nolan. Now we're going to fantastic Snyder.
Right.
So,
well, they're playing catch up a little bit, right?
Well, why do we have to call it catch up? And that's, I think, a big thing is because we have to look at it in the sense of like, well, one versus the other instead of like, why can't these existences happen? It's like we don't look at like the James Bond series as something that's compared to something else. That's like on like the Fast and the Furious series.
Yeah.
Those are
Fast and
very
Furious
different
has to-
things.
Fast and Furious has to catch
If
up.
you want to go Jason Bourne, I could agree with you.
Okay, or like we'll say like the James Bond series versus the Mission Impossible series.
Okay.
Is it
Like-
because it maybe feels like the MCU sort of developed organically? What became the MCU?
Well, I actually have a point of why I've specifically called it catch up, and it's not the fact that I'm putting that label on it. It's the fact of that's what the studio's doing, right? So I
Seems to
agree
be
that
their
we
message.
should have let it be its own thing and develop. I don't care how far behind, quote unquote, behind the MCU it is. I would love to see it develop in the sense of like before we had Avengers, how many solo films did we have for each character to make sure we care about all of them?
4.
Was it only 4? Are you sure?
Iron Man 2, Thor, Incredible Hulk, and then Captain America, 5.
Okay, but we had specifically for a majority of them, and I'm going to get back to the characters that we don't have stories for. We care about them individually, right? So when we brought them all together on film, it was this cool thing of seeing all these people we love together.
That you're forced to kind of like because of the hero's journey and everything like that. And so to that point, like Joss, really what he had to do is just play with them. Like kind of what he does, he's good at that.
And
Firefly,
that's why I,
Buffy,
with you,
Angel.
contribute Favreau and Feige to building this universe. Joss is just good at juggling characters really well.
Well, I'm. What's so funny is like right now our conversation is kind of a classic example of a thought that's coming in my head, and we talked about it in a previous episode of comparing like if this didn't happen, would this be still what it's thought of?
Right.
So like let's say if
The Marvel Cinematic never worked.
the MCU didn't happen, and this actually happened first, would it be flipped?
Well,
and
I think a good comparison is
because we're comparing it right now to the MCU.
when the MCU
sort of,
was,
I have a point to
when
it.
the MCU was butting its head.
Yeah.
Dark Knight trilogy was happening.
Yeah.
And Dark Knight trilogy was self-contained.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what it was because, like, at that point, Warner Brothers was just like, let's just make these movies. If their stories will continue, they'll continue. But we don't need to make a shared universe. And then Avengers was like, what the fuck you got? Like, we have $200.8 million opening weekend. What do you got?
Well, okay, wait.
Yeah.
But so my point is, we built these characters up. So when we saw them together, everyone lost their shit. Now, arguably the weakest characters in Avengers are Black Widow and
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And I credit that to not having their own films. I went into Avengers going, I don't know who the fuck y'all are. I know everyone else, right? Even the Hulk had his own films. While it was Mark Ruffalo, I still understood conceptually why I should care about this character and where he's been.
In the universe that they have built.
Coming into Justice League, not really having a Batman film, not really having a Flash or a Cyborg film.
Or an Aquaman.
Right. I had trouble relating to what they're about.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of what I was lost in. And by the end of it, to be fair, I really dug Cyborg's story probably the most out of all of them.
Which is something that, and we're nerds. Something that a casual movie audience goer will like have trouble with versus like me being the comic book fiend. I was like, I know everybody's story, so it's like very easy for me. I'm just more looking like how are they going to mesh?
Right.
So
and
like,
and that's a
that.
good point because like a majority of the audience does know their backstories and stuff like that. And
in a sense,
we know why we should care about these characters. But I think what DC maybe have been banking on is the fact that everyone likes Batman, everyone likes Superman,
and everyone loved Wonder Woman.
But what in reality, what we're thinking of is like, I loved Nolan's Batman. I loved the Batman animated series. I love Superman animated series. why should I care about this specific Batman and this Superman? And I don't think for me, with like Flash and Cyborg, they hadn't earned it for me.
For me, like,
guess.
I
Does
kind
that make sense?
I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
think so.
it makes total sense. To me, like to your point, Tom, like
Thank you.
just because you can't see where I'm pointing.
He flipped me off.
Yeah,
With his loincloth.
I think this is this DCU, like DC cinematic universe, is like suited or marketed to mass appeal, but they're movies that like maybe are not best suited for mass appeal. Like we'll get into this, I think, soon, but I don't know anything about Steppenwolf. I've never heard the word. Like I had to go home
Boom tube.
being very frustrated with what was happening with the plot. Go talk to my roommate who is up on DC Comics.
Why the hell didn't you ask me?
He was the first person I saw after I came
He was a
home.
little more open. He wouldn't like.
I went home like the hour.
Hey Josh,
after
why don't you
I
talk to me
watched.
about some Destiny or some other?
I'll talk to you about Destiny.
Okay, that's cool.
Return it.
I'll stay afterwards and we can talk for hours.
Don't worry.
But he told me what a boom tube is. He told me what a mother box was, and like I was like, what? Like I didn't get any of like what that was.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
And so you definitely don't know, Josh.
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
You
I
make
am
that
Jon
clear every
Snow.
time.
I know nothing.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not true. I know what the mass public knows,
Yeah.
but I don't know a lot. Like, this is how much I don't know. I went, I know conceptually of what the Justice League is, but I go, you have a fucking Justice League and you have fucking Aquaman and Flash. And I'm like, Cyborg? Who the fuck is Cyborg? Like, I'm like,
oh, I see what you mean.
I'm like,
I was like,
there are some things that I'm like,
what's wrong with Flash? For those of you out there who don't know, Flash is my favorite DC superhero. So,
but anyway, I'm like, who the fuck is this? Like, but I'm uneducated.
right.
I'm
but I bring that
stupid.
up not as a. I actually don't bring that up as a qualm, but I bring that up to illustrate a point of like, if the MCU wasn't there and we got these movies, I feel like they would be appreciated more, maybe because they're not being compared to the MCU and just being seen as like almost kind of like Nolan movies where they're kind of like isolated into themselves and they have a very specific like task or a very specific point to them. And like the Snyder movies would have just been like kind of like watching 300 or whatever, where it's like this is just an adaptation of like the comics, maybe a bit more literally than mass appeal would be comfortable with, and maybe that's okay. Like maybe you have to be a little more familiar of what a boom tube is before you can go watch this movie. But if you do, and I guarantee now that I know what I know going into it like a second viewing, which I hope to do this weekend or whatever, or this week, I'm sure I'm going to appreciate it a lot more because I'm going to understand what's happening, kind of.
Yeah.
But at the
take
same
that.
time, even after talking to him, we couldn't answer the chicken and the egg question of did the crack cause the boom tube or did the boom tube cause the crack? Like did Steppenwolf
So
come
in the
down
mov-
because of that, or did that cause a boom tube? Then he came down.
So I'm gonna say
is
like
the boom tube thing the thing that came out of the
Yeah,
sky?
yeah.
Okay.
sucks him back up.
So the
Got
weird,
it.
so watching it again, I think I'm definitely pointing out a plot hole because Victor Stone explained. So there's 3 mother boxes: one the Atlanteans have, one the Amazons have, one Men has. And Men, they don't kind of explain where it came from. Victor Stone's just like, hey, we've had it for such a long time, yada yada. Sounds like the Tesseract. Anyways,
yeah, right.
It's really unfortunate. I'm sorry, but
We
it's
have to
really
redo that.
hard not to
compare it.
compare it
Yeah,
because it
no.
already came. Because it's like, sorry, it's really hard not to.
Well, I mean, that's just human nature. We always
Well,
do
I-
prejudices and judgments based on prior experiences.
right, I think if we didn't have the MCU, we'd be comparing it to Nolan's anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we're going
Or
to
if we didn't have
compare it to
Nolan's, we'd be
something.
comparing it to Tim Burton's Batman.
Well, I'm
or
going to
Dick
compare.
Donner's Superman.
We're going to do comparisons to things very soon, but we'd compare to something else. But so yeah, Men had theirs, and the thing is that Victor Stone verbatim said this one started reacting the day Superman died, which is weird because when you go to the Batman vs Superman, you see the footage of when Silas Stone, Victor's dad, saying that it's reacting before Superman dies. And it then integrates with Victor and then integrates the machinery around him and then becomes Cyborg, which well, I'll compare it to it. It's just a nod to the New 52. And
But even if it was after,
but I mean, the weird thing is like what they said was like, oh, because what Steppenwolf says like, oh, your mother, you're calling to me because
Yeah.
the Kryptonian's death has created so much sorrow that I can come and like destroy this world.
yeah,
And the parademon thing, feeding on fear and all that, yada yada yada. But yeah, so that's the weird thing. It's like we saw the Amazon one crack, we saw the Atlantean one
yeah.
crack, and we just knew that the man
Earth
one
one,
already
right.
happened, and so it's kind of like that's just a weird kind of timeline
one, yeah.
plot point where it's kind of like plot hole where it's like, well, when did it really open then? Because it happened before Superman died, unless that video footage was from the future, which is a whole nother can of worms we'll talk about, which I could talk about.
Are we going to talk about that?
Not
Not on this
36 minutes
episode, but
or
yes,
30.
we will.
So yeah, it's kind of weird. So yeah, the mother boxes started. The Earth one, I think, is the one that started it. The Earth one started it, and then the Boom Tubes opened because Steppenwolf was in exile, and that's another story too. Yeah, so it was in exile, so he came down, and then it opened up the Boom Tube. But the thing is, he has control of the Boom Tubes. Everyone from Apocalypse or any of the New Gods. And New Gods is another big comic book thing that
And for
they
those
will
of
talk about.
them who don't know, what is Apocalypse?
Apocalypse is the home world of Darkseid and Steppenwolf. And Steppenwolf is the general and actually the uncle of Darkseid.
you know what would have been great?
An origin story?
An establishing shot of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They said it in the flashback. It's like the Unity will create this, blah, blah, and then turn the Earth into Steppenwolf's homeland. And that's where he resides. And that's all they call it. That's all they say. And so that you don't hear his Apocalypse. You see a little bit of how it would look like in Batman vs. Superman during the nightmare sequence, which I think it's not really a nightmare anyways. But you see like burning fire from holes in the ground and like Omega symbols everywhere, which is, and parademons flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
Is
yeah.
it terrible that every time Steppenwolf came on, I couldn't stop thinking of the 70s Canadian rock band?
I like to dream.
Yeah.
No, that's
On Magic Carpet Ride? I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, that's every time
Why don't you come with
I
me,
get-
little girl, on a magic carpet ride? You know that song?
Nope.
All right, Tom.
all right. Copyright. Anyways,
Air 5.
Oh yeah, can we even sing that on here? Yeah, we can.
But to Ollie's point, it's like there felt like there was a lot of things missing, and just kind of pointing this stuff out, more factual things from trailer 1 to trailer 2 to trailer 3. That's the shift between Joss and Zach, where they traded arms, and and kind of what you saw with Suicide Squad, a huge tonal shift. Like Suicide 1 marketing was like gunmetal, it looked cool, to all of a sudden neon lights and Bohemian Rhapsody, and
Yeah.
everyone was like going crazy, like, oh, this is going to be cool, this is all right, and then. You know, all the comic book people were like, oh my God, Joss Whedon's going to direct it. It's going to be amazing. Danny Elfman's going to use the original score. There are so many things that sounded great. But the thing is, like, sometimes two great things clash. And some people say Zack Snyder isn't great.
But there's also so many rules.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like we already brought up of it being a safe movie, it's like, you know, sometimes you just listen too much. It's like if we listened to every comment we got, this show would be a completely different show.
Yeah, right.
And it's
A lot of fists of mine would be flying.
Yeah. And so it's, you know, studios have their rules, and they're like, okay, these are the rules that this needs to follow. It's like under 2 hours, or it blah blah blah, or this and this. It's like just try to not have any rules and create the greatness of two things. You know, it's like
I'll reference
there's opportunities.
I'll reference a funny meme that I saw, which is like the DCU enemies, and it's like it showed Zod, and then it showed Doomsday, and then it showed Steppenwolf, and then it said WB editors. And I think sometimes I really feel like it is that studio intervention that does fuck some shit up, because it was their mandate that it had to be 2 hours long. It was their mandate that it had to be a little bit funnier. And I think Zack Snyder's smart. Like, he may be arrogant, ignorant to whatever, and he has his own style and all that stuff, but he's not stupid. He's going to see comments. He's going to hear what people want.
Yeah.
And I mean, when BVS first came out and it had that like 36% on Rotten Tomatoes, he solemnly and very, I think, like just purely said, like, I just wanted to make a movie that comic book fans would enjoy. And he's like, I wasn't doing this for critics. I wasn't doing
My
this for
heart
awards.
just hurt for a minute.
And I think that's, to me, like, that's the thing. Like, and we've said this before. It's like, comic book fans, you should be happy that these films are getting attention at all.
Yeah.
And stop trying to destroy them, because it is, you guys are destroying it. And it is because, like, I feel like there's so much weight on BVS, and we've talked about it before. If it was just a run that the director was going to do a comic book of,
if we went in with no expectations,
like we don't look at Frank Miller's Batman as the actual canon Batman, but we love it. We don't look at Spider-Man 2099 as the actual run, but now it's part of the universe, so it doesn't fucking matter.
bad
anyway,
example.
Yeah,
This is Snyder's run.
yeah, and this is Snyder's run, and the thing is, like you know, there's year
Just
one
like
Batman.
Mark Webb's run at Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Sadly, these runs.
I just want to see what he do. I just wanted to see what he do, to be honest.
so
What are you saying?
Sadly, these runs last a decade.
yeah,
And yes, they do.
and so I mean, for me, my big thing is kind of like I stay awake late at night thinking about the Steve Jobs movie that would have been directed by David Fincher and Christopher and had Christian Bale as Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
But I also stay late at night now thinking of what happened to the other 50 minutes that was cut out of this film. Because in trailer 1, you had that awesome line from Steppenwolf saying, like, no Kryptonians, no lanterns, no hope. And then it's like,
And it's gone.
like, and to me, like that.
But they had
is-
to make room for Flash to ask which way was east.
yeah, they don't. And there was a shot of.
I'm not going to let that go.
There's a shot of the Flash
That's okay,
saving
Corey.
Iris West.
Yeah.
Or Iris.
And she's not in it at all.
And she's not in it. And
I think those are the little things that, you know,
And are we going to find out what was happening in BVS when we see the Flash kind of, that dream sequence
I
that he
can
had?
talk all day about that.
yeah,
movie.
I think we will. But my point about the Iris West and stuff like that is maybe those were little things that I'm missing as far as like caring for characters. Like that may have given me a little more like insight to that. So
And there's the shot we saw in trailer 1 where Cyborg's flying towards the moon and his entire like face gets covered in metal and it's like he has a full like aviary suit, assault suit. And then there's the shot where Wonder Woman lands right before fighting Steppenwolf, but Flash or Cyborg and Aquaman are right behind her, and she says, "Shall we?" That never happens.
Yeah.
These are all things that are cut out of it, which has actually been a big issue of mine which was a big issue for a lot of people with Suicide Squad, which is a big issue of mine of Civil War, and a big issue like with some small things of Marvel stuff.
They
that to me-
represent something.
yeah, and it's like I get
Falsely.
it. I remember when Corey and I first looked at BVS, the trailer, the first trailer came out, and Corey said they showed too much. They showed Doomsday, and I think the rest of the world said the same.
yeah.
And it showed like a CGI version of Doomsday that wasn't that great. And then in the movie it looked better, but whatever. This one here, it's like, well, now you showed me things that I don't even get to see. And I think that's tough because, again, that intervention of having it, you're limited to only 2 hours. Not even 2.5. Not even 2.5, which is like fucking ridiculous. And it's like, what happened to it? And so it's like these things. And what to me,
Oh, to answer from before, I know I said I'd look it up. Avengers was 2 hours, 32 minutes.
half hour of content that
makes it
you
gives
need.
so much more like
Yeah. For those of you at home, thank you for waiting for that answer. 20 minutes later,
they
40
Googled
minutes
it
later.
the instant we asked it.
Yeah, I know.
And so that brings us to like Batman vs Superman. The theatrical cut was 2.5 hours, and then the Ultimate Edition came up to be 3 hours.
And I will say this. I watched it with Tom. I've only seen the Ultimate Edition, and he pointed out every single scene that was new, or at least wasn't in the theatrical.
I was literally watching. I was like, "That's new.
That's new. That's new. And I kept a mental record of all that shit. And after the movie, he's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I think if I had seen the theatrical version, I would have hated it." It's still not my favorite superhero movie of all time, but I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun watching it, and I think there's part of me that, and this I might get some flack for this. I wish Justice League was a little more Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition in the sense of, I think, they had a great tone in that movie that I wish they had kept. And I agree that tone works well for maybe Batman and Superman, not so much Wonder Woman and Flash, that kind of grittier tone.
Well, so there's a whole camp of people who are like, "No, Superman should be happy. Superman shouldn't be sad and be conflicted that he's helping people, but he's politicized." And it's like, well,
But I love that.
I
I
do think I don't think he has a problem. I think he does enjoy helping people. I think the polarizing thing for him is that why am I doing this if no one cares? And like I think I missed that in Man of Steel. You never really, as a character arc, nothing really changes for Superman, right? He doesn't really learn why using his powers for good is a good thing.
it's more of a self-discovery story, and that's always been the difference between Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
Batman has to become a hero. Superman has to more like, am I going to adopt my Kryptonian heritage or my human heritage.
There's a struggle. So
And
to
so
speak.
I didn't feel that in Man of Steel though. I didn't. As
well,
a
no,
character,
it's-
from beginning to end, it's just Superman. And I'm like not saying that's a terrible thing.
Well, it's not more of like a growth thing. It's more of just a decision, and it's this like weird linear decision of like, do I out myself or do I just stay in hiding? And so that's why it's not much of like
Right.
this whole development.
Yeah, and I think I wish there was a little more so that the conflict for himself internally in Batman vs Superman was a little greater in that sense. But I think I'm not in that camp. I don't think he has an issue saving people. I think it's the how what am I doing wrong? Like it's almost that I think we've all been there where we're trying to help someone or like if someone's in a bad mood, we're trying to help them and they're just angry and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like what? I'm just trying
Yeah.
to fucking help. And I think that's more so where it's coming from. Not so much that why doesn't he enjoy helping people?
Well, I mean,
'Cause
that's
I've heard that argument. And I
yeah,
hate
no,
it.
and I don't think you're part of that camp. But also the thing is like, I find that what DC movies have tried to do is literally take these heroes. Because they were written way before the Marvel ones were. And the big controversial thing is like, well, DC movies and DC heroes are like gods and like Marvel heroes are like humans. I'm like, you're stupid. I can't relate with a kid who shoots webs out of his wrist. I can't relate with the guy who's smarter than ass and makes a metal suit. I can't relate with the guy who shoots steroids and became a war hero. I can't relate with a Russian spy who ended up defecting to the U.S. As much as I can't relate with the guy who wears a ring and flies around in space. So shut up. You're dumb because they're
Are you
all
talking about Green Lantern at the end there?
yeah, they're all comic book characters at the end that are like on Earth
Yeah.
for a reason.
Well, and I think, that goes to my point again where the characters are developed a little more. Like people.
Yeah.
The powers are whatever.
Well, a lot of people use that argument of like DC characters are gods and then Marvel characters are humans. I think that's the dumbest argument I've ever heard.
I agree.
My big thing, oh God, I kind of almost like messed up with it, but like my big thing is with the DC heroes is like they take the theory of heroes and then throw reality to it, and we all
Yeah.
know this in life. It was like when we get the instructions, like you should do this, and we get like IKEA instructions, like it's very easy to put this 40-pound weight above your head. It's like no, it's not, and screw this in together. It's like the reality hits you. You're like, no, that doesn't work in a reality where like you have to have emotions, and like if you do the right thing and no one tells you what to do and how to do it, Superman's gonna get judged, polarized, like you're acting unilaterally as a god. You don't answer to anybody, and that scares people.
Right.
Like, and that was what Civil War was all about.
Yeah.
Was like you guys
The
have
entire movie.
you guys have megaton bombs that you don't even know where they're at, and it's like, oh, you have a vigilante that literally beats and pulverizes people, and the cops are okay with it. The reality of that people are not
Was that
seeing.
the shortened synopsis of Batman?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the spark notes of Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing, and I'll compare to this is that all the Marvel heroes don't have secret identities. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, no one has a secret identity.
Yeah.
In the entire DC universe, everyone has a secret identity. So you literally have two lives to work with in DC, and you have one life to deal with in Marvel. So it is very easy, and that's a writing thing.
I see what you're saying. It's that they
Iron
do,
Man's
but they
a-
just don't show it. They don't.
Iron Man's outed himself. Captain America is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow has no identity. Hawkeye literally lives in a remote farm. Thor is a god who doesn't need to answer anybody. So
Hulk
he just,
is the only one who really
Hulk is the only one
that
who ran away.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
But then the thing is,
Well, he's not in the MCU.
Well, we don't see
so bad.
I know.
but we don't see in the DC universe. We see them at work. We see them, at the office.
Which to me,
Or
I feel
whatever.
like
we see that with Iron Man. I mean,
Which I-
that's his whole story arc of the first film.
yeah, and then all of a sudden at the very end, it's like it's done. And so like everyone needs to know that stuff. There's no contrived like, oh, keep it a secret, which I love. That's why I love Spider-Man so much, is because he in the entire Marvel universe is like the one that's kept a secret, his identity is secret. Batman, he's got to deal with Bruce Wayne. Clark Kent, you got to do Superman. It's like you have these are the things that you have to deal with, and that makes it so tough. But then they take a liberty of like, oh, Lois Lane's going to know right off the bat. They're like, oh, well, fuck that. And it's like, ugh. You know how many years it took for people to know that Iron Man was like Tony Stark for the longest time? He said Iron Man was his bodyguard, and they got rid of that in 2 seconds, in two lines. They said this is a stupid tabloid. It's like, oh. And I don't know. To me, I feel like that's a big thing that happens. Like Marvel gets a lot of passes, while DC kind of like has to continually trip over themselves like The Flash did.
Because there's a difference in
Think
that.
fucking I
Because
hated that.
God bless.
Ultimately, when
God bless the Flash as a klutz.
and if you want this to lead into qualms, I don't know if we're there yet, but
I do want to do some comparisons first, but before we get to quality.
basically that comes down to like, for me, Marvel tells a really good story, and like it gives me a cohesive narrative with like introduces the
development,
plot to me in a way that I can understand it, in a way that I can get invested in and feel the stakes for. That hasn't happened for me yet in a DC movie, where to
want it
me
to so bad.
all the events are like 2 feet above my head, are happening up here, and I'm down here, and I'm like, I just want to know what's going on. You know, I want to be up
Yeah.
there flying
Yeah.
around with you guys, but I can't. I want to feel the gravity of the situation, but I don't understand the situation and feel the gravity for it.
Yeah.
And I'm a nerd that grew up on Batman and Superman, and I didn't get it. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's what it, like, I didn't feel like offended by the movie in that sense, but like close to it. I was like, I feel like I want to love this movie because I love what I'm looking at. My eyeballs are happy,
Yeah.
but my heart isn't.
A lot of heartstrings.
Should we hug him?
Give me your hand. Give me your hand. It's okay.
I mean,
I want it to be really good too, because I mean, actually, funny enough, DC houses my 2 favorite superheroes, and they are Batman and Superman. Like, I have, when I was growing up, and even now, I have socks that have Superman on them, and they're like my power socks. Like, there's something about those personalities of Batman and Superman, like they just are, they're like my spirit animals, and I love them. And so when I see these movies, I'm kind of like, but I want you to be so good. And you're not.
But my
'Cause-
friends.
My,
I don't want
my
to trigger
friends.
Tom, but I feel like, generally speaking,
Trigger warning.
I feel like I enjoy DC Comics more than Marvel Comics.
but you
so-
enjoy the Marvel movies more than you do.
And
But
I
I-
enjoy DC animated more than I enjoy
But
Marvel
the potential's
animated.
there for the DC movie.
And the thing
Yeah.
is, we say DC's got to catch up to Marvel, but we don't say DC, like Marvel animated's got to catch up to DC.
Oh, I will all day.
Or we-
Absolutely
or
does.
we don't say the last few Spider-Man video games got to catch up to Batman's video games.
right.
We don't say those things.
Well, wait, no, they do.
Not really.
The Spider-Man ones? Absolutely.
Oh, I know it, but I refuse to join the race. I refuse to be part of the whole like the toxicity of what nerd culture can be sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's nothing but like, and that's why I don't go to like Reddit
Well, yeah,
sometimes.
I agree, and I don't think I and like I know I said it earlier. They're playing catch up, and I think that's what the studio's attempting to do. And I think what I meant by that is like I hope they stop trying to play catch up and just kind of nurture their own universe in a sense.
It sounds like they are, I think, trying to go that direction.
After this, I would hope so because I don't personally think it was time for a Justice League movie.
No. Like,
Like, there needed to be some more development
There
of
needed
the
to be
characters involved.
There needed to be a foundation for it. I think
Yeah.
for pulling that many big characters and personalities together, there just needed to be a little
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
I
mean,
would
if
have
they
loved
can
to
be
see
in
a
the
full.
same
Well, it's like we've
universe.
talked about this a lot, right? Like for me, the DC universe is not a well lived in universe yet,
Right.
and I think I want more of that, and I do. I really like the characters, except for what they did to Flash, and I want to learn more about them, and I think I would have liked to.
I mean, in a tough semantic argument, every single city and every single location is fictional in DC.
Yeah.
In
That matters.
In Marvel, there's 400 superheroes that occupy New York. And it's like how many heroes you needed for one goddamn city. You guys suck. Anyways, but Central City,
New
Star
York
City,
does kind of suck.
Gotham,
No, I'm just kidding.
Metropolis, the
Not
Mascara,
really.
Atlantis, all these places don't actually exist. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's why to me, my point is like,
Wait,
it's kind of
what?
hard to say like the Star City, Themyscira, Gotham, Metropolis.
They don't exist?
Yeah.
Isn't
Oh,
Gotham
fuck.
in New Jersey?
Damn it.
There is an exit to Gotham, New Jersey. But one thing I do want to make a comparison to is
Yeah.
the fact that like I feel like this tried to utilize some things from the animated films, animated series, and the comic books, and so the entire
Beautiful music.
the entire DCU has been based off of the New 52, which was like when Man of Steel came out, and even since then, like now it's under Rebirth, which is like a whole new arc. For all you comic book fans, you know what I'm talking about.
Flash.
Flashpoint, but also it was because of Pandora. But anyways, like there's a bunch of different comic book tie-in events. So like post Civil War, pre Civil War, Civil War 2, Marvel Now versus like Marvel Unlimited, all this Ultimate Universe crap. Like to me, the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe looks like Marvel Ultimate Universe, and the entire DC universe now is like in DC New 52, which is to really try to catch up to Rebirth, which is a whole new can of worms of just talking about the differences of those.
Sorry, I blacked out. What happened?
Because the original comic book for everyone's like, oh, well, it's not like that. And I hate when people say like,
That's what our fans sound like.
I hate when people say like, well, that's not what happened in the animated series. Like, well, don't look at the animated series as the actual thing. Because the animated series took liberties from what the Golden Era, the Bronze Era, and the Silver Age comics did. And so when the Justice League first got assembled, they were to replace the Justice Society, and it was when Starro was taking over.
Yeah.
And it was a Green Lantern, there was a Martian Manhunter, and it's like there was no Cyborg. Cyborg was one of the founding members of the Teen Titans, and then the New 52, they brought in Shazam, they brought in Aquaman, they brought in Cyborg, and Cyborg was like the youngest member. And in this universe, I mean, in Zack Snyder's universe, the Flash is the youngest character. So it's like
Or they're arguably like the same age.
arguably the same age, but I mean,
Yeah.
And that was the thing I was talking about before. Stuff that got cut. You didn't see Victor Stone in his football, like leather
Ever.
varsity jacket, which I wanted to see. I wanted to see him go through his accident. I wanted to see him stop a tank from like landing on a cop. He's
Dude,
like, you should
I
probably
would
move.
fucking watch a Cyborg movie in a hot minute. I would do it instantly.
Yeah, I would definitely watch that.
And
And
I
I,
mean,
and I think you're right for your previous point of having a little bit more build up, like having a Flash movie. Even I know that you hated that Flash, but having
It's not that I
to-
hated the Flash. I'll get into it. It's just that continue for it. I'll get into it.
Well, I was just gonna say having a Flash movie, even if you didn't. Well, okay, I want to hear that, but having an Aquaman movie, which I hear is happening,
James Wan.
It's like having those things before we have a Justice League movie and then bringing them all together. I'm not trying to say that Marvel did it right that way. No, I'm saying that you took on a very big deal here.
Yeah.
Bringing all of these characters together
with rich stories.
with rich stories and then putting a limit on how long the story can be. You can only fit so much
Absolutely.
into it. And so all these characters are still people. They're still characters that have their own things that they need to do and whatnot. And so
I'm there's a part of me that is really hoping that Snyder pulls a BVS and does a 2.5
yeah.
hour Ultimate Edition, or 3 hour Ultimate
I'm
Edition.
100% that because I feel like when you cut the length, like a lot of film snobs will say like, oh well, if you can't tell the movie and blah blah blah. Honestly, the real rule is if you can't tell the movie in 7 minutes, you can't tell the story at all.
yeah.
But then if you can expand it, then you have more room to grow. But like I look at it as like you look at Tombstone, you look at like Seven Samurai. Like these were longer films, and they took a bunch of
Look at Logan.
well, Logan's a Western, but and the thing is like you don't like there's not an ensemble, like right.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're comparing it to stuff that have
That have
big
ensembles,
casts,
but
right.
didn't have like, oh, we need the Doc Holliday movie, we need the Wyatt Earp movie
Yeah,
before that.
true.
Like you can do on Ocean's 11 didn't need to have a movie for every person.
Yeah.
You can tell
But they
me
took the
everything
time
you
to
need
tell you who
me.
they were.
Yeah, and so the thing is, you can do it.
You can do
but
it.
I don't think you could do it in 2 hours. That's asking a lot. And the thing is,
No, I feel like you can. I feel like if you really tried hard, and you were really good with writing and really clever with it, you can tell me everything you need to tell me about a character within a couple lines or like one specific action.
Like really good exposition.
Yeah, like really like spot on, and you could do it if you needed to. If you were in a position like Justice League where you weren't afforded a Flash movie, you weren't afforded a Aquaman movie. Like I feel like we didn't get that thing that cemented, that I knew everything I needed to know about Barry Allen with like a couple things that he might have done.
yeah. I mean, like you could look at League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. You could look at Lord of the Rings. You could look at Star Wars. They didn't have solo movies beforehand.
Right.
And the thing with Marvel, that was a huge risk. This like no one thought Marvel movies were going to work. Tom Cruise turned down Iron Man.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to get in his own universe, which is failing. So I mean, like, there's a lot of things that are like that don't go right a lot of the times. I mean, like,
Not to make a pun, but I think they did put a nail in that coffin.
oh my god,
That's
that.
That's an extreme version of trying really hard to force something to happen.
yeah,
Like to the point where I didn't even know this. The Mummy had the Dark Universe logo in front of it, right? I didn't even know because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I just saw that like in a like a
Well, they kept it under wraps.
something on.
Oh my god!
Anyways, going back to it.
No, we have to stop recording now. This episode
our
is
episode.
done. We're,
No, continue.
I
You know
think all
what?
the potential is just sucked dry. Like
What they do have going for them?
that
Oh,
was a
geez.
vampire joke.
That's good.
There
Thank
it
you.
is.
God,
Man.
Tom is pissed.
But here's something that they do right that emotionally invests me in their characters, and I think that Marvel needs to fucking learn from this. A lot of movies need to learn from this. They have solid themes for their heroes. Wonder Woman has a solid theme. Now with Danny Elfman returning, Batman has a solid theme. Superman has a solid theme, right?
Yeah.
I think on an emotional level,
Well, Flash now, his is always like the very slow piano, dun dun, and then right before that they do the dun 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun 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 dun.
I liked because there were moments in that movie and fucking Wonder Woman. Every time I heard that dun 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 dun, I was like, oh fuck, yes, this is happening. I get super pumped. And when they had the moment where they reveal Batman, the tarp flies up and you see him sitting there when the spotlight's on, and you hear that Danny Elfman tune. There was emotionally like I got goosebumps when I saw it.
Yeah.
And I think that's if you pair that with the develop the character a little more, you have fucking gold. You have gold on your hands. And that's why I'm hoping Snyder releases a version where everything with Iris is there, or Victor before he's, Cyborg. I think I really am like crossing my fingers for it, because I think that could turn a pretty fun film into a really good film. And take out Batman talking about something's bleeding. Take it out completely.
I was gonna say that. I was like, how would you feel if and like, I love Joss Whedon. Like Firefly is like one of my favorite shows of all time.
Buffy.
Well, I
Buffy,
think that's why he works well in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a little like more jovial tone.
no,
Yeah.
and we know the whole bathos thing. And the thing about Joss Whedon, his thing was like, make it serious, make it dark, but for love of God, make a joke. And so
Right,
for
yeah.
me, like he will make a joke, and that's the thing. Like they try to copy that and emulate that. And to me, I also feel like, well, Tarantino says a good director, and this is complete bullshit, but I think there's some truth to it. A good director is only good for 7 films. And so we made Hateful Eight, like, this is his 8th film. It's like, oh, whatever. But like Joss Whedon, I mean, at some point, like, and we've and like Corey and I have had conversations about like how some directors like will have a degradation. Like some directors will just lose their spark.
Yeah.
It's the law of degrading.
And I'm not
tastes.
saying like he's gone, he's washed up and bullshit. Like some people say like some of the Nolan films aren't as good as his prior ones. Some of the Spielberg films aren't as good as the other ones. Like, but
You can say that about anything.
like just Joss Whedon coming into it, does he really have a hold on it?
You can
So
say
it's-
that about
could-
Bam.
I don't think him and Snyder
That's the thing.
merge as directors.
Within a single scene, within one scene, with like second to second, you could tell when there's a Joss shot
And
and,
a
there's
Snyder
a Snyder shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to me, that the one that hangs out, that stands
in
out
the Flash
is
scene? Because there was a big one in the Flash scene where the camera angle changed, and it pissed me off.
Well, there was the one in the hangar where they're talking about the mother box, and he's making a joke about going up against Wonder Woman, and then it cuts to Barry Allen making the joke about like, oh, we would totally be on her side.
Yeah.
And then it switches back to Bruce Wayne not even being fazed by that. Like
Yeah.
no one in the group that they were in was like it like heard that joke or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's
Compare
like,
that to the Pet Cemetery
it didn't
joke where they all
work.
react,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
I loved that joke, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
And it comes back. Oh, Pet Cemetery.
That felt like it was
Yeah.
that was baked in.
That was Snyder, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Or if not, then it was really well done.
And Joss found a way for me to care less about Superman than before. His entire, because like you know that that entire field scene was reshot, and
Because he had a beard.
I fucking hated that scene. I
my God.
hated that scene.
but that's also a thing too. Is when
but in the trailer, it looked great.
yeah, where he grabs the leaf and he says, "So I'll take that as a yes." And she's like, "What? The ring?"
Yeah.
And he looks at her and it's like, "Oh, this really touching moment." And then this shit's kind of like oh,
cringy
okay,
as
cool.
fuck.
Yeah.
How did it feel coming back to life? Itchy.
Yeah. God. And that's the thing. I what? And like I really, for me, I hope for anyone that's listening.
Oh, God, my heart hurts.
Really takes this message at home that just because something makes you laugh doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
Millions of flies eat shit every day doesn't mean it's good. And so
Yep.
you really need to figure out like what is a good film versus what makes you laugh. Because like I've said to Corey, I wouldn't pay $10 to go watch something I could watch on TV. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's a real big thing. And I hate to kind of put film on this big pedestal and stuff like that because TV now is in a golden era. Like, and everything's going super movie
yeah, man.
movie production value. But it's like these are kind of the writing jokes that I would see on like a sitcom.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't take this seriously. And if characters can't take them seriously, why should I? To Ollie's point, like
Right.
why would I feel the weight and gravity of their strife if they don't take themselves seriously?
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And I think, you know, I'm all for a joke here and there. I think they solidify stories, teach you about the characters, kind of stuff like that. But there were a lot of blatantly added jokes that if you had taken them out, I might have enjoyed that scene more.
Yeah.
The Batman, the bleeding one, really stood out to me
Yeah.
as like a
Remind me.
why did I
Why?
have to see that? So Superman asks him. I thought that was badass when he grabs him by the
bleed?
throat and
Oh,
goes,
yeah.
"Do you bleed?" And
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh.
"Dope! Oh shit!"
Yeah.
And then he throws him on the ground when Lois gets there, and he goes, "Something's bleeding." And I was like, "What? What? What does that mean? What does that even mean?"
Like
Yeah.
to me, Zack Snyder said,
Like it could have been better. It could have been
yeah.
a better joke
and to me, Zack Snyder,
if
like
it had to be.
Or not at all.
Like in Hellboy, after the final act, and he blows up the giant monster, he was like, "Gonna feel that in the morning." Like, and it's like dry and all that stuff, but it's like it made sense for it, and like
Yeah.
it felt like it had enough pause where it's like, okay, he's been through a lot of shit.
I liked the line they could have used there where he says, he could have killed you, and Batman goes, "I was willing to make that trade."
Yeah.
I was like, that would have been great there. Like if he stood up and Flash or Aquaman or Cyborg or whoever was like, he could have killed you, right? He goes, I would have been able to make that trade, and then end the scene there. I would have been like, great, that was fucking awesome line.
Yeah.
Well, I
Now
mean,
we know the length that Batman's willing
And
to
it's
go.
still something you
Yeah.
can
save the
kind of
world.
chuckle at in a way, like depending on delivery. But
Right?
it's like,
Yeah.
And one of my favorite
reaction.
one of my favorite comic books is Batman Hush, and Batman actually goes toe to toe with Superman, and Superman's taking control of over Poison Ivy's like oak whatever, and mind controlling him to fight Batman, and Superman's actually trying to hold back, but it doesn't look like it, and Batman has this entire monologue where he says like and Batman has a kryptonite ring where he's like punching the shit out of Superman, and in his monologue he says like, Superman could kill me in any moment. We all know this. And he's like, but the thing is about Superman, inside, deep down, he's a good guy. But I'm deep down not a good guy. And
Yeah.
that's something that I felt like would have been good. Like if the Flash came over or something like that and said like, he could have killed you. He's like, no, because he's really, truly still in there.
Yeah.
Where it's like Batman, because that's the thing is like Batman has so much hope for reality, for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And he realizes, kind of like almost back to the Dark Knight, where he says to Harvey Dent, he's like, you're the beacon of hope I could never be. And so that's kind of cool where you can see that love happen with Superman, but it's just hard because BVS didn't give that much time for it either.
Yeah.
I do want to get to one point, but because I know we want to get to qualms.
But the thing is that I feel like this whole episode has been qualms.
It has been a lot of qualms. I only have one more,
I mean,
and then I have favorite parts.
yeah.
We'll talk about good stuff.
Can I do my qualm about Flash?
Go ahead.
It's a quick one. So, Barry Allen. First of all, shout out to Billy Crudup for fucking killing
Henry.
it as his dad.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
last scene where he tells him he got a job broke my heart. I was crying. I had tears in my eyes. Like that
Like a
was
job
a
job.
great scene. But the way they play Flash, a little eccentric, I can dig it. If they want to make him younger, I can dig it. I knew they were going to play him a little young. But the fact that he's scared about everything, a wuss about everything even, I might even say. 2, falls over every single chance he gets. And C, doesn't know directions, even though he's supposed to be a forensic scientist.
Studying to become one.
Starting to become one. It
And so that's to me the thing that
bothered me so much.
they made a big deal about it in like articles and stuff like that. And Ezra Miller talked about it a lot in like interviews. Like, this is someone that is in tune with the Speed Force, but is still trying to figure it out.
And I
they
get that.
And they try to do that with the TV show and how like
Also
that
not
version
right.
is literally like, I need to get faster. I need to get faster. This Flash is way faster than that Flash. And I'll
Yeah.
say that. But the thing is like, that Flash has now 3 seasons of like, I need to learn how to use my powers better. And he
Yeah.
has some good episodes where he can do that. And in this one, it's kind of like, I've never actually fought anybody and all that stuff, yada yada. You know, we know the lines.
I think that was great. The save one, I liked that scene, and then he saves everybody, and I was like, that's where he should pick up and be like, I get it.
Yeah,
And he didn't.
yeah. I mean, I feel it's also kind of like Spider-Man, where he's trying to like web an entire ship together and it's not working. And there's dumb things where it's like, I can't open up the window and I have to like have more force into it. So it's like it's the growing pains, and it's just kind of, to me, I think it's tough to see the Flash do that because the Flash has never been characterized in that way before. But that's some baggage I'm bringing.
That's baggage I'm bringing too. I just didn't like the fact that he broke his ankle, and then a second time
He didn't break
almost.
his ankle. He
Didn't
got
he?
shot. He
Well, he got
and
shot
Batman
once,
had
but
his-
the other time he tripped and broke his ankle.
He's just tripped.
Oh, well, he was.
He was
anyway.
being like, I think he was limping away.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was. I
Bruce
thought he
was
hurt
helping
himself.
him
He
a
sprained.
lot.
Anyway, the second time he falls, he would have fallen very far if Batman hadn't caught him. So he's kind of useless. The only thing he does that's really helpful is push a sword back to Wonder Woman,
And catch things and blow up bugs.
blows up bugs, and then complains about it. I didn't dig it. Not my Flash. Hashtag not my Flash.
But one thing I do want to point out is that for me, the consensus that I'm seeing with a lot of people that I know, like, if you liked BVS, you might have some trouble with this movie. If you didn't like BVS, you're gonna like this movie,
Interesting.
which is really kind of weird because I mean, like, you know, I have a bunch of friends. Like, that's kind of the fun.
I'm in the former.
Yeah, I have a bunch of friends who just text me, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" I was like, "Guys, shut up! Listen to my podcast." That's what
Yeah. You like find out Thursday on Nerd.
exactly. And so that's the kind of really funny thing is like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I didn't like BVS," and then like I would hear from like, "Oh my god, I loved Justice League," and it's just kind of a really weird feeling. And I kind of have to Corey's point where I wanted more of the tonality, the focus of Batman vs Superman. Even though a lot of people say it was everywhere, I didn't think so, and I don't feel that.
Well, the
way.
Ultimate Edition wasn't everywhere. I feel like
I
the
would say
Ultimate
the
Edition was a little more.
theatrical wasn't really everywhere either. It's just there was just a big plot. There was just a lot of
I
things
dig
to
it.
do.
Yeah, they were doing a lot.
This felt a little everywhere to me. It felt like, not in the sense of story, but I felt like it wanted to, I think I explained it earlier. It was like 3 different ideas going at once. Studios, Snyder, Joss, all like plowing ahead. That was this. I liked BVS, and this was a step down for me.
It felt less signature.
All right,
Snyder.
all right. With that, let's open the gates. Let's do qualms. All the qualms I can make up. Or do you have any more qualms? Unless you guys are just slowly started seeping them down.
I seeped him out.
Yeah.
But like I think mine were less qualms and more of like, I mean, my biggest qualm was Flash and the character development were my 2 biggest things. And instead of just kind of say that, I wanted to give counterpoints. So I think I did mine already.
I guess I can go. I kind of alluded to this a little bit, and my major issue was with the villain and the way it played out. Like I said, I didn't understand what was happening as far as like where this thing came from. Did this cause him to come down? Did he come down to get it? Like, how did that work? I didn't even notice him take the Earth,
The one
box
from Men?
or
Yeah.
whatever the hell. Like, it fell in a car, and then he had it. I was like,
well,
okay.
Yeah.
Which is strange because I feel like DC movies so far have done villains really well.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's their stronger point.
Like, I didn't get any sense of like where he came from. That's why I kind of made the thing about like an establishing shot of his own world. Like, I didn't get any of his motivation, why he was doing what he was doing, what his end game was. Like, maybe he's making room for Darkseid to come in or something like that. But I didn't like the way he looked as far as the CG goes. I don't know if that would have, having an actor in makeup, I don't know if that would have made me like it a little bit better, but it just felt like he monologued a lot about stuff that didn't make sense, that I didn't know anything about, and I still don't have to go like read comics to like get caught up on what that meant. And so like for me, I feel like I had to do homework to really appreciate it, and again like to feel like the gravity of the situation. And like what I did gather from it is that the world is going to end, and he wants to like
Terraform
maybe terraform it or something like that, which maybe wasn't. Maybe he's just truly making a doorway for Darkseid to come in or something like that. And I still don't know where that's headed. Like, again, bringing it back to Avengers, like with Thanos, Thanos is coming. That's the looming shadow in the distance. You know, and every couple movies we get a preview of that and how it's getting more and more and more. And
for me, I would say actually that's a funny thing because Thanos was never introduced until the Guardians.
yeah.
And so you have like 7 movies that literally are dependent on a post-credit scene. When
Right.
this movie kind of gave you an inclination
tries to give you
within
that.
the film.
Right.
But then you have the post-credit scene with Jesse Eisenberg, so whatever.
So yeah, it's just like I wanted to care more about it. And then the other interesting thing, and I want to know what your take is on this, Tom.
Shout out to Tom.
Shout out to Tom. Is like in BVS at the end of it, Bruce Wayne is like, we need to assemble a team or whatever. Something dark is coming or something worse is coming. But I feel like they didn't need that for this movie, for Justice League. I almost feel like the events of the movie kind of brought them together. Like you had the Atlantean, the Amazon, and the human Cyborg. They each had a mother box. Like, I feel like it maybe the narration might have been more interesting if they had to come together more naturally that way.
I see what you're saying.
And then maybe like the Flash is like just someone they pick up because the
Flash and Cyborg.
Well,
side
the
of the
Flash
road.
is Batman has the vision of the Flash. Maybe he knows.
Yeah.
Maybe he like like can comprehend that it's the Flash or it's Barry Allen. He does some research, figures it out, it's him, and then he goes gets him.
So
And it's like,
in the New 52 Justice League, the first arc, whatever, Darkseid is invading. And it's Batman literally doing what happened in the movie. He is on a roof and he's actually investigating a parademon. And the parademon is actually carrying a mother box.
Okay.
And the way that they use it a lot, there's like different types of boxes because there's a father box. I don't even know sometimes.
there's more than 3 apparently, right?
Yeah, and some of the boxes, some of the things can create boom tubes. Some things,
Right.
some of them do create the Unity, and that's usually like a new Genesis thing. But one of the boxes can create a boom tube, and then can open up enough so that Darkseid can come through.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Darkseid, he wants to bring his planet over and blah blah blah, conquer, yada yada. But his actual goal is to find the anti-life equation, yada yada. But anyways, Batman is finding it, but then while he's like investigating the parademon, the Green Lantern is around, and the Green Lantern and them team up, and they're like, hey, we should see this. Like, this looks alien. And then Green Lantern's like, I know a lot of aliens. I don't see this before, but we have an alien here. And then they go look for Superman. And then Batman, Green Lantern fight Superman. Wonder Woman is like in America already, and she's kind of becoming this ambassador and all that stuff. And Cyborg's story is actually happening during it. So this is more of like an origin story for Cyborg. And what happens with him, he's Victor Stone, football scholar, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden an accident happens with an explosion or something that happens with the parademon or something like that. And then Silas Stone's like, we have to use the mother box to fix him, and throws him the mother box. And then all this metal like combines with him, becomes the Cyborg. And at the same time, Barry Allen is like investigating a murder. And like it looks like a suicide,
And he's smart and he doesn't trip.
it looks like a suicide, but it's actually a kidnapping. And so
Not gonna let that go.
and so the kidnapping then leads him to be like, oh, something's happening. People are getting taken. And that brings Batman and Flash together.
Right.
And at the very end, all of a sudden the invasion starts. And then everyone just kind of meets up in the middle of Gotham.
It's just the circumstance.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, literally, it would have been like how the Justice League New 52 started would have been like the third act of Avengers, where everything's happening and all the heroes just like, hey, what are you? Hey, da da da. And then, like, Flash is like, oh my God, you're Batman. And then,
I bring that up because it's like, well, then now because that's not how they came together.
it was more like they were
It's like,
searched, found, and all
is
that
it
stuff.
too coincidental that they're each ambassadors for this mother box? And like, does that kind of weaken?
Not
like-
necessarily for me. I thought that was really cool. That, I mean, the three and utilizing three's a
Like,
magical
oh, we
number and
happen to
everything.
be like the people that know about this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Atlanteans and the Amazons, they have a history. I think that's always really cool that they bring that up and then they showed that. And they to me, I think the fact of them introducing anything exterior of like the actual narrative of the film, like introducing Green Lantern in that flashback, like
I thought it was cool.
I was like, okay,
Yeah,
it wasn't the Green
that was a
Lantern I
lot. I
wanted,
like that a lot.
but that was okay to do. And they talked about like even heroes from or guardians from other planets came and helped. I was like, please fucking show.
Oh, you know what I realized also we didn't get from the trailer was whatever scene that was between Alfred and Superman.
Yeah.
When he said you'd be coming.
And then you don't get the shot where Bruce Wayne is like brooding and looking at like the hologram of.
He's like, I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yep, we definitely didn't get that.
Anyway.
But
They left
anyways,
that one out.
Josh,
Josh,
you have any more
call
do you
me
have any
qualms?
I'm sorry. Just a second. Qualms.
We should have almost not had that in here. In this one, the one about Batman.
It deserves to be in here.
It'll get in every episode.
It's not the one.
We could
It's not
talk.
the one you
we-
want, but it's the one you deserve.
we could be talking about My Little Ponies, and he would somehow get
I
it
look
in
forward
there.
to it every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is stupid. I know that it's stupid, but I'm okay with all of the casting.
Yeah.
All of it. When Ben Affleck was
DC has
announced,
great casting.
when it was announced, I was like, okay, I could be on board for that.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Man of Steel. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I liked.
High five.
Same.
I enjoyed Batman versus Superman. I think, and again, I remember articles coming out when Man of Steel came out of like, oh, he's not this, and blah, blah, blah. I don't fucking care. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Anyway, I will never, ever, ever, ever accept Jesse Eisenberg.
But he's such a good Riddler.
I can't. I understand your point, but I just can't. Every time he's on, it's not that I don't like Jesse Eisenberg.
He's great in Social Network.
He's great in a lot of things that he does, but in this, I just
He's great in Zombieland.
I can't accept it.
That's fair.
I can't.
Is it about the
accept
character Lex as a whole?
I think
right?
it's, and I know very limited amount about Lex Luthor, but I know a little
His
amount.
biggest scheme is not real estate.
And I know a little bit, but watching, I just
Here's the thing. I enjoyed the post-credit scene. I told Tom this. He toned it down a lot. And
Yeah.
I think he got the note from someone, but he toned down that like manic kind of thing he does all
the
the
Riddler,
time.
as you say.
He's a perfect Riddler. I think he's a fucking perfect
No,
Riddler.
he's not a perfect Riddler.
But he toned it down. That post-credit scene with Deathstroke toned it down perfectly. I
Yeah.
really dug it.
I will
I'm
never-
hoping it stays like that because, and again, maybe like Tom said, this is me bringing my own baggage into it. Lex, my entire life, has been played as this huge guy who's
Clancy Brown.
brilliant but
Mr.
reserved,
Krabs.
right? He's that brilliant, reserved, crazy person who wants to take over the fucking world, in a sense. Yes, Tom.
I feel like Clancy Brown was like this
Shout out to Clancy
racially
Brown.
ambiguous dude who likes to sling his dick around and was like, yeah, Batman, I'm going to run for president just to piss you off. And I was like, fuck this guy, dude. Fuck this guy. So I don't see him as reserved, but I mean, is Jesse Eisenberg your only qualm of Justice
No,
League?
no. I have this. God, this is another stupid qualm. It's just so stupid and just silly. But
Spit it out.
I don't see enough of Ben Affleck shirtless.
thank you. Okay, I just okay. Finally got it out. No, I have this weird thing, and it's the same with video games. It's the same with things that I don't understand. My wee tiny brain doesn't understand, and it is the representation of costumes for female characters
Oh.
in different things.
Okay.
I don't understand strip joints. I don't understand pornography. I don't understand things because of the way things are represented. I'm like, I'm sorry, Wonder Woman, her skirt is so short.
I would say, I felt like this
wait,
shirt
but
is way shorter than it was in Wonder Woman.
Yes, exactly.
Because I saw some butt cheek, I saw some inner
Exactly.
thigh. I was like, damn,
Keep in mind-
I'm seeing some things.
Her
No,
actual
and
comic
you-
costume is just underwear.
No, I get that. It's just and
Well, that's
I
another-
feel stupid bringing it up. Like anytime everybody at home and my fellow hosts, this show has been a treasure for me because I'm not good at expressing my opinions.
Yeah.
And so when I have to express something like this, I get very uncomfortable and pee my pants.
That's fair.
No,
He is
but
peeing his pants right
I am
now as we
being. I'm
speak.
sorry. But anyway,
I'm in the
it's-
high chair.
yeah. But it's just something that I've never, and it's not just this movie. It's all movie. It's all movies that.
So why is Laura Croft in short shorts and a tank top?
Yeah. I've just never been able to understand it, even when playing the
that's
video games.
Part of the things that people praised Patty Jenkins for in Wonder Woman was hiring a female costumer to design the costumes for the
Yeah.
Amazons that covered their entire midriff. There's no belly showing. But then if you watch
And
this
they're also
one,
stylish.
if you watch
Yeah.
this one, Zack Snyder hired a guy to do the costumes, and a lot
Yeah.
of the Amazon women are wearing these like leather straps across their breasts, showing off their midriffs.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot. I do agree with you that it's been a source problem, but for Wonder, I guess for
I mean,
this
I
movie
get
it's
it.
shorter.
Source material.
Yeah.
Her costume is much more, not revealing, but there's a lot more skin, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. It's basically underwear. I get it. But it's just one of those things that and it's, again, like I said, it's not just this movie. It's all like
Yeah.
movies that have a representation of a hero that is a female or whatever. Not comic books. Video games do it. Just things that you're just like,
Well,
that
comic books
doesn't
do that shit too. You seen
Yeah.
Power Girl?
Yeah.
But then you get like
can't even
someone
see her
like
feet.
they get someone like
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch in Avengers 2 who is
Yeah.
wearing a trench coat the whole time.
Yeah. And I mean,
Well, you don't wanna see her actual
even Black
comic.
Widow,
I
she's
know.
she's actually covered.
Yeah.
She's wearing her like onesie thing.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna
Leather
call it.
onesie.
Her
But
leather
yeah.
onesie. But is it still
Stealth
revealing?
suit.
Of course, but it's still like it's covering. It sounds so weird. Like, do I
it's
appreciate
fine.
Gal
No.
Gadot? Oh my gosh, yes. She's
Everybody
a beautiful
does.
woman. And let me say one thing. I have
My
to say
wife
this.
appreciates her.
Henry Cavill
Gorgeous.
is a beautiful man.
yeah.
He
I
is
told
my
you
forever
befo-
man crush.
Before the show, what my wife and I call Man from Uncle is just beautiful people.
Beautiful people.
I agree with you.
He is a poor, ugly man. Where both my wife and I go.
Although I lean more
Oh,
towards
man.
Jason Momoa myself.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More
I
of
have
a-
a,
Ruggedy.
I think
that's
that's
me.
a valid qualm to have.
Henry Cavill. No, just kidding.
If you could make Henry Cavill less attractive, I would enjoy the movie much
if you
more.
just cast Henry Cavill as Wonder Woman,
I think that's
Yeah,
the issue.
the world would be a better place. I think.
I mean, seriously, when he came back to life and he's like shirtless, you're like, oh, geez, it must really be hard to be you.
well,
Well,
isn't that a
he used to
Snyder
be,
thing?
No, he used to be fat.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, Fat Cavill.
He
Yeah,
got
Fat
called. He was
Cavill.
playing World of Warcraft when he got the part of Superman. By
Yeah.
the way,
What was the Zack Snyder thing?
Zack Snyder's known for portraying extreme masculinity and
Well, he has
very
a-
ripped people, which for Superman and Batman works very well.
He
But
has
that's
a-
like his thing.
He has a gym on set.
Yeah.
One of my friends actually wrapped up set for additional photography for BVS, and all he was doing for 12 hours was just moving gym equipment to his Pasadena
Yeah.
studio. And
I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just that's one of his signature
what it
things.
is.
Is putting really ripped
Bringing
guys
it back.
without shirts.
Bringing it back.
well, I mean, you got Sucker Punch, which no buff guys in there
That's true.
except Oscar Isaac, and he's an ass, which is great.
but girls kicking ass in short skirts.
Which is amazing.
But
It's just a shonen
But
genre
Josh,
film.
I bring
think-
that up just to on your point. I think that's a valid thing because I think one of the things that I could have done less with, we've already touched on this, is some of those like extra jokes that Joss Whedon added.
Yeah.
And again, like this goes back to like I love Joss Whedon, but like the stuff he just added to this movie, I really didn't like almost any of it.
Is there something in particular that you were
and-
kinda like if you
thinking
saw
of?
West-
on the topic is like pretty much anything because I feel like anything I wouldn't go as far as saying like the objectified Wonder Woman, but
Yeah.
like pretty much like every one of them, I feel like
Had some kind of sexual joke.
some
with her.
kind of like came onto
Like
it.
Alfred was like, Alfred's saying something. He's like, I'm only interested in her abilities that she
Yeah,
can
her
help out with.
skill
Like,
set.
sure you are. And then Flash falls on her boobs, and then
Yeah.
Aquaman's like, you're just beautiful,
gorgeous,
You're
and
so
then
gorgeous.
her lasso
The-
happens to be
The
on
only
the hood
person
of
that
the car.
the only
and it's
person
like-
that doesn't is Cyborg, but you
Right.
could tell that Cyborg and her have like kind of like a brother sister.
Yeah, bond.
So it's like
That's a
Patty
good- that's a
Jenkins
good-
I
did
didn't
such a
feel
good
as
job.
bad about the Flash one, to be honest,
I didn't either
because
I
he
read a
gets
lot
her out of the
stuff
way,
online.
and
he's
then
a
it's more of
spaz.
like a oh shit, and like zaps back up, and it's like anyway.
Yeah.
So
But,
is it-
but I can see it from that perspective, it
dig.
being
Can
kind of
we
an issue.
please, for the love of all that is good and holy in the world, say some good things about this movie?
Well,
I said-
look
I
at
said a
Jesus.
lot of
Can I
good
go my
things.
qualms yet? My
Yeah,
God.
Tom's gotta
But
have qualms.
If anyone's got qualms, I got qualms. I could tear apart the Dark Knight if I wanted to. All right. I could
Yeah.
tear
Always
apart.
have qualms.
I could tear apart Lawrence of Arabia if I wanted to. I could tear
doubt-
apart Lord of the Rings if I wanted.
I doubt-
I'm pointing at
The only
everyone.
problem
I
with Dark
doubt
Knight,
you could do that.
the only problem with Dark Knight, he throws the champagne off the ledge, and then when he has the next shot, he has champagne in his glass. It's the only problem with that movie.
I want to see who the champagne lands.
Okay,
on.
Tom.
Anyways.
Grandpa Tom.
All right, let's do it. Go time. Bow and saw's ready. I
We
feel
are
like
90 minutes.
yes, we
in.
are. I feel like
Thank you all for
Thank
who are
you,
still
everybody,
listening.
for listening. Seriously.
I love Danny Elfman.
yeah.
I feel like his score might not have been the best for this film.
Really?
I feel like it was very clashing sometimes because, like, I remember BVS and I was like, dum dum da dum. I was like, okay, fuck yeah! Like, I wanted Mad Max
yeah.
music
More
for
intense,
this shit.
more
Battle
yeah.
drums.
And then it's like everything just always felt like when it was on, there was an intensity. Like there was stakes. Like this was like going to be, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be the time he's going to kill somebody. Here was like very heroic, and I think that's something that's good, and we can talk about that. Where like the Marvel thing, they get the heroes right, but the villains suck. In this one, they got the heroes working together. They like each other,
Yeah.
and they go through their small things, but then they're characterized and they pair up in a way where like, oh, this
play
is
off each
really
other well.
cool. But then you have the CGI villain, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that I think
Who did a lot of ass kicking in the beginning and then none.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
well, and that's another big point where it's like, I felt like there's a similarity of this to like some Bruce Timm Superman adventures and even Justice League. Superman's a cocky ass dude. I hope you guys know that. Superman is cocky.
yeah.
He's like Bruce Lee. When you know you can kick everyone's ass, you get a little cocky.
Yeah.
Once Superman came in, it's like, done. Plot point. You're
Superman
over.
Ex Machina.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't like Superboy and Young
Seriously.
Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like,
He's got an ego.
and for me, I was just like, once Superman became in the picture, like, Steppenwolf is done.
It's like, oh, the
Done.
movie needs to end. Let's bring in Superman.
Yeah, he's the big gun. And,
Yeah.
and Batman has called him the big gun for a lot of things. And it was really cool that they mentioned that as Lois Lane's the big gun.
Ooh, and I called that too.
Yeah.
I did during the movie. I was like, it's Lois Lane.
I think a qualm of mine was just kind of like, there was just so much I wish could have happened more. I mean, like, so the big thing that BVS didn't have was like, quote unquote, breathing time. And breathing time for letting the emotions to sit.
Yeah.
This one had a little bit more to it, but it's just kind of like, you didn't need it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's times between Aquaman and Bruce Wayne where it was like, you didn't need that. There was some plot hole things where it's like, dude, he's blatantly talking about your secret identity and you don't give a fuck. It's like, just like a bet. Okay, Bruce Wayne. It's like, oh, come on. Like, I know, like, yeah, we're in a different fucking country, but it's like, come on. And it's like, when Batman hits the robber for the first time and he looks at the 3 squares on the wall, he's like, Alfred, you see? He's like, Alfred, why the fuck do you use his name? It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, come on. And it's like, those were the small things that I noticed, like, in Batman vs. Superman. Bruce Wayne is literally walking down Lex Luthor's, like, stairway and he doesn't notice Superman's following him. Like, I know you're old, but are you that old?
There was, that was, I mean, one of my issues with Batman vs. Superman is Batman deems Superman the biggest threat the planet's ever heard, and then it took him a year and a half to even start to do anything about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, that aside, I agree with the point you're making right now.
Yeah.
I just think there's some character flaws.
Yeah.
I think that's DC's biggest thing, is that its characters aren't quite up to snuff yet.
And so, I mean, the big thing for me, like, I feel like there's a bunch of people who didn't like BVS like Justice League, and people who liked BVS didn't like Justice League. And for me, my rough thing is, like, you're kind of, I feel like, a reason why they're having such an identity crisis, because you want them to be Marvel. You want them to be funny. You want them to be
Some
light. You
people
want them
do.
to not be dark and brooding. And you'll point a finger and say Dark Knight Rises, which you should have been. And then all of a sudden, when they try to do it in space, you're not going to like it because it doesn't work. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And that was my thing. It was like, I felt like this film had such a tough time with its own identity. Mm-hmm. And this time, like, you have Bruce Wayne, who's like literally now the butt of every joke, who's literally
He's so useless in this movie.
who's like literally showing, and that's the thing. Like, Zack Snyder's talked about in panels where it's like, who could win a fight, Batman versus Superman? This is before BVS, and Zack Snyder's like, come on. And that's the thing. It's like, in the comic say as much as we want to say and love it, it's like Batman could have any type of fucking advantage and know how to fight and all that stuff. But it's like, you literally have Superman who can keep up with the Flash, who could think faster than a bullet.
Can't, though.
Keep up with, not beat. Who could think faster than a bullet, who can breathe in the vacuum, who doesn't need to breathe.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, like, once you have to put the reality in it. It's like, the reality is that Batman is a man, and a man and a man is a man. At the end of the day, he's a man. Like, and the man cannot, like, in the comic book world, Batman could bench a ton. That's not humanly possible.
Right. And I think to kind of, to your point about Superman in this movie, and in Man of Steel, people are like, well, he's an asshole. He destroyed that guy's truck and he destroyed the satellite. And I was like, well, have you read the comics? Or he's kind of a dick all the time. Like, that's very Superman. Those 2 moments in the movie, I was like, yeah, that's Superman.
Yeah, and
Kind of a
like,
dick.
he's slightly justified, but then sometimes like the punishment's way worse than the actual crime.
Yeah. Or like that thing where he's like, I can move the planet out of the way.
Yeah. But I mean, there's some things that I liked about it that they were trying to do that connected to like the animated series, but it's just like, sometimes it doesn't work, especially if like we wanted like some drama to it. And I feel like that was just robbed of this film because like everyone just wants this vanilla thing. And like there's some sequences that took place during the day, which I like. And I mean, Nolan has said like we could take place in the day when we have the budget and we know what we can do with it, but we have to use the night in order to cover ourselves up. And that's why some like Batman Begins took place primarily at night.
Yeah.
And Dark Knight took mainly in during the day. And so this one's like there's a lot of day stuff which felt like, okay, let's do it. And then we're going to see the CGI for what it is. And that's like the rough part. I don't like a lot of the tonal changes. I mean, like there's a lot of stuff you could just tell, like we talked about Thor and how like Hela like destroyed the hammer in a city, then all of a sudden it was like in a valley. And like, I didn't like that change. And then so seeing a red sky was cool, but then all of a sudden thinking about it, it's like, we could have just had a gray sky. It would have been just fine.
Yeah.
But then everyone would have been like, that would have been bland. If you look at Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League, you couldn't tell they're from the same director. And that's
I
a
agree
really
with
thing.
that.
Because you know why? fans fucking kept yelling about it. Oh, Superman doesn't give a shit about human life. So, hey, look, we're going to have the entire fight sequence at a harbor. Don't worry, no one's here. And no one's been here. It's like they had to throw that line in just to appease everyone because apparently no one gives a shit about life. You had that fucking stupid storyline about a family in a goddamn middle of nowhere just so you could say, hey, there's people here. He does care. Hey, look, in the middle of fighting this world-ending monster, he's going to save 30 people because everyone wants to see that shit. How many people are fucking saved in Avengers?
Well, I mean, and
True.
to counter your
Good point.
argument, they could have just fucking done what Avengers did and just gone ahead with it anyway, and it worked out fine.
Gone away with what?
Like, there could be people in the harbor. I mean, it's to a point. Yes, it's the fans, some of them speaking out, but at the same time, take some artistic,
Which they did, and then all of a sudden they got shitted on for it. And that's the
In
thing
what?
I get irritated about. It's like,
Wait, in what?
like taking artistic liberties.
Yeah.
Like taking artistic liberties, like saying like, cool, we're gonna show Doomsday at his first phase. It's like, well, that's not him. It's like, all right, well, fine. Steppenwolf is a pretty shitty villain. Just to give you guys a heads up, like he's not. He's like, it's like, hey, here's like a Batman movie, and then Robin's the main character. That doesn't sound right. It's like Darkseid's the villain, and we're gonna give you his sidekick as the main villain for this first movie.
I dig it. Yeah.
It's like Loki's the villain of
that's what I was-
Avengers, and
yeah.
we're gonna give him his like little imp. That's gonna be his actual. It's like, but I got it. And the thing is, like, you could tell, and I don't know why, but the Steppenwolf from BVS is a different Steppenwolf from this one. Like the Steppenwolf from BVS is like he doesn't have eyes. He looks more like an orc from Lord of the Rings. I don't know why, but it's whatever.
Wouldn't Steppenwolf be the Loki to Darkseid's Thor or Thanos?
Yeah, I guess.
Because he's just there to like prep the world or prep
to me,
the area.
I think a better comparison would be Silver Surfer to a
Silver Surfer
Galactus.
to Galactus.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in a weird way.
Okay.
I mean, there's things about it, but I think I'll talk about it more about the things I like. So let's.
I think we want to move on. I have 2 questions I'd like to go around the horn for.
Yeah.
Favorite character in the film and favorite moment.
Who's going first?
I mean, I'll start it off.
Favorite. Do we want to do favorite Justice League character and then favorite character in the movie? Just so that we kind of get a good.
Oh yeah.
Very-
So
I'm not going to be able to.
favorite
really-
Justice League character is Flash. Favorite in the movie was Wonder
Okay.
Woman or Cyborg. I really liked Cyborg in it. My favorite moment, I have 2. My gut reaction favorite moment was Flash running behind Superman
Oh, damn it.
and seeing his eye turn and just being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But like still staying one step ahead of him the entire
Yeah.
time as he's like,
Watching it a second time, you definitely see Flash is still faster.
yeah.
But it's just the fact that like Superman keeps going,
Bear
keeps coming at him.
swinging, like just swinging
Yeah.
at him over and over again, and he's like, "What the fuck, dude? I've never dealt with this."
Yeah.
I dug that, and then as I thought about the movie more, my other favorite moment was when Superman and Cyborg pull the boxes apart, mother boxes apart, and they're lying there for a minute, and they just start laughing, and then Superman goes, "You know what? I'd rather be dead." And then Cyborg's like, "I can't. My toes hurt. How does that make sense?"
I don't even understand the physics of that.
It's just like this really cool moment because they don't really know each other beyond probably what Cyborg knows of who Superman is. And Superman really only knows about who Cyborg is in that moment, that he's like, he's here, he's trying to help out. I dig it. Let's do this. And they do it and they pull it off. And they just have this very... And I think that's kind of where the character stuff comes in. Like that kind of stuff is really helpful for me to want to care about these characters. Like by the end of the film, I probably cared the most about those 2, even though I didn't give a shit about Superman until that moment. And it's just that like thing where I just want to see more of the humanity in each of them, I guess. And so that moment stuck out to me.
To me, it is my answer was going to be the field scene where Flash is running into Superman.
Yeah.
Sees him.
Sees him.
Oh, cool.
Because
Yeah.
to me, that kind of like I really dig that kind of like character interaction. That's just like within just the characters, without like away from the sort of grand like threat or whatever. Like it reminded me of kind of like the scene in Avengers 1 where like Thor like overcharges Iron Man, like
Oh,
even though it
would you
wasn't
look at
kind of
that?
the same.
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't the same
I-
cadence, but like it, like I just love to see that kind of like interaction between the characters and what
Well,
they can do.
it builds that little bit of like, oh, now I care a little more.
Yeah. But then, so yeah, I'll just say that was my favorite moment.
Favorite Justice League character, favorite Justice
Favorite
League
Justice
movie
League character is
Comics and then movie.
yeah, it's Batman and Batman. And cliche for me to say that, but like for me, I'm with you, Tom, where it's like this is Snyder's run, and it's like, but I feel that on a grander scale with Batman. So like that was Burton's run. That was Nolan's run. This is Snyder's run of Batman, and I was so excited to get more of Affleck, and like I'm so sad that like they had creative differences or whatever happened that he's not like directing the Batman movie or like that's not happening anymore. What is he? Is he still? Is there
He's
still?
still in it.
He's still
in it.
slated to act.
I think he's.
Because he's one
There's
more.
there's
he has one
rumors
more
saying that
movie
he
left.
wants to use this movie as a vehicle to get out.
As if right.
And Terrio's no longer in the writer.
And I'm sad about that because it's like that would have been so perfect. And like I was giddy as like Kevin Smith was. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Like when I first heard about that because
Shout
I
out
was
Kevin
like
Smith.
because Kevin Smith always like thought that like Ben Affleck would make a great Batman, and like it finally happened. And I remember like listening to his podcast when like Zack Snyder showed him like that first shot we saw of like
The black
him
and
the
gray
spotlight?
with
yeah.
the
Like he showed
Oh,
it
yeah,
to
yeah,
he showed it to Kevin Smith before like
came
anyone
out.
else like saw it. And so he was just like when he saw that like Kevin Smith was just like fuck yeah, like that's awesome. And like when I saw it I was like, "Oh, this is perfect."
Yeah.
Like
I mean, yeah, this is
agree.
the first time we
Ben
get a
Affleck-
black and gray.
and
Yeah.
like his performance wasn't perfect, but I attribute a lot of that to like the weird like comedy that didn't quite land.
And I would have dug
around it, but like
I would have dug a Batman movie before this.
yeah, exactly. Like I would, and like even though I didn't like Suicide Squad, I think it's worth mentioning. Like I dug that he was in it.
Yeah.
It was like sprinkled in there, kind of like for world building purposes, and like I just love the idea of like maybe having another Joker movie with him in it or something like that, or explaining that,
Yeah.
diving in deeper. But I just feel like so many missed opportunities. Mm-hmm. But I still really liked Ben Affleck and
Batfleck.
like in love.
Yajwa.
Well, it looks like it's almost unanimous. I loved that scene.
The Flash and
when the
Superman?
Flash is running around the Superman. But I actually like that whole scene. When of the whole movie, what I was most excited about was Superman coming back to life. I wanted to know how they were going to do it. I wanted to know. I wasn't exactly happy with how it was done, but I was glad that he was back. And it made sense to me
It
that
was the only time Flash was useful.
oh god damn it. But anyway, I enjoyed that whole scene because it's in my mind. I go, that makes sense. You woke him up from the dead. He's pissed.
Yep.
Kind of like he doesn't know who he is. He's got all this power, and they're trying. And I thought it was a lot of fun to just see everybody and Batman. Not Batman. Sorry, Superman just out of his wits.
And it was almost okay, except Cyborg's armor going all AWOL,
Yeah.
shooting at him.
I think that was a really cool thing too, because in the Death of Superman, they kind of explain it where his body was in like a coma, a deep coma, where like he had one heartbeat per day, and that's why no one could really tell if he was because again, it's Kryptonian physiology that they don't have to understand. And I like how Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne had to explain it. He's like, his body is something we don't understand. His body is more powerful than the Earth itself. And so only something as powerful as something that can create an Earth or create a planet like a mother box can probably bring him back to life.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's cool. And I think that's an interesting thing. In lieu of not having a black suit, which I fucking wanted so bad.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, that's also kind of like we wanted Wolverine in the fucking Savage
Yellows.
Wolverine with the yellow and then also with the headgear, which we finally got 7 movies later, which is like, okay, cool.
Did we get it?
In Apocalypse, you got the
yeah.
Wolverine with the headgear, which is like, all right, cool.
I also enjoyed the post-credit scene of Flash
The
and
race?
Superman. I know that it has really no purpose, but it's just one of those things that it's always kind of that like, hey, isn't that funny? It's always kind of like
It's like
that.
the shawarma shop.
It makes. I mean, it's another one of those like caring about the characters a little more, seeing them interact
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
And I mean, like that's a little. I mean, for those Smallville fans, they like that shit. For anyone who watched the Superman animated, where like they ran around the world to see who can like race for like a charity and shit. But
They're like, well, I've never seen the ocean or whatever he says.
the Pacific Coast.
I've never seen the Pacific Coast. It's just like, yeah, because they can.
That's Corey's
They can
favorite
do
part
that.
that he has no sense of direction. Well, I honestly I feel like that's a pretty weak plot device, but honestly, it makes it a device where it's like the fastest man in the world who can get to a place within like a second doesn't know where the fuck he's going, and that's why he takes him a little bit long. Because the thing that I found so poetically beautiful about the Flash, he's the fastest man on Earth, yet he's always a second too late to save someone he really cares about. And it's like, how the fuck is that possible? But it's like, oh, because he fucking doesn't know where he's going. It's like, so it's gonna be weird for him to develop and all of a sudden like get a sense of direction and also justify that. It was probably because he's having to like run around the world billions of times before he can do something. I don't know.
We'll see.
Maybe he
And I want
didn't
to. I want
know.
anyone listening. Again, Flash is my favorite, which is why I'm being overcritical of
You're being
this.
super critical, dude.
I know.
He didn't know what direction he was going, Corey, because
being
he didn't know
super
what direction
critical.
he was going in his life.
Jesus Christ.
We got really heavy.
Tom, favorite.
No, I didn't
Oh,
get
he-
to say
sorry.
favorite Justice League character, not
That's right.
to movie, not to movie. It's really hard because Batman and Superman really are. They're pretty much equal to me in terms of their importance to me.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
He's
What
just
this-
he's
putting
doing-
his hands together like fist, like
they're
he's gonna
equal.
fist bump someone with both hands.
they're equal to me. But in the movie, I really enjoy.
I was gonna say more like Doc Brown connecting cables.
yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
crossing streams. Oh damn it, it's really hard.
Hippolyta. I know.
I think it would be Steppen. No, I'm sorry. I think it would probably be Superman.
All right. Fair. I dig it.
I'm really. He has my heart. Yeah, I heart him.
Thomas?
So I think I'm the only one that kind of has like some positive things to say, even though I can rip it apart and all that stuff like that. But like,
I said a lot of positive things.
We said some positive things.
whatever. Well, because I feel like I don't have one favorite part. There's a lot of great parts strung together, and that's I feel like it's tough. And I felt like I've talked about this before with Spider-Man: Homecoming, where I felt like that was a Frankenstein film because it felt like it took a lot of best parts of other Spider-Man movies and put into this
But
one.
the question was your favorite moment.
Favorite part.
Not all the favorite
I'm
parts.
I'm gonna have to string along some, not two like Corey, some because I really did. Because the thing about Zack Snyder, I love that he can always show a world that's in peril. And so the opening sequence I really like because it's like it shows the world in a shit place, and it shows like how the reality is like there are like
You should have said moment.
Yeah.
Favorite moment.
sorry. There is some parts where it's like the world is shit, and like you see people who like are being like having their like front of their grocery store destroyed, and like it's playing with the same music. It reminded me a lot of Watchmen, and I
Okay.
love
Yeah.
that sequences.
Yeah.
I love his like slow mo intros, like titling sequences and stuff like that. So my absolute favorite moment is probably when Bruce Wayne and Wonder Woman are arguing.
Yeah.
And they're in the hangar, and he is pressing on her. He's like, "You were an inspiration, yet I'd never heard of you until that night." And he's like, and I never heard of you until Lex Luthor took a picture of your ex boyfriend.
Oh, he brings up Steve. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and she's like,
yeah.
"Bruce, you have to forgive yourself." Blah blah. You did not kill him. He's like, "But I was there, and he died." It's like, "Oh, are you telling me to get over it? Is that what Steve told you?" And then she punches him. And to me, I was like, that was a really big moment because it just felt like Batman in the comic books is an asshole. Like not like super asshole, but he's a snarky, douchey. Like I say funny.
I'm smarter than everyone. I got this.
and he's sassy. Wonder Woman's like truth and like just always like up for the fight. You know, the Flash is a little typically.
What's her line about ice cream?
She loves ice cream.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is great. You
should be proud.
of yourself. Yeah. She's all about truth and wisdom, and she's always up for a fight, and that was like a really good thing to see. And I think that's the one thing I loved that they try to do is that they try to incorporate some of that Bruce Timm love that like Batman and Wonder Woman have this connection, and they have this like there's a love between them, and they show that in the Justice League animated series, and I've always appreciated that. And so seeing them get to that point, and then the next shot is when they're actually going to try to revive Superman. He's like, I never tried to save it. I was like, and then later on they continue that where she's happy that Superman's back, and they won the fight, and they're like, oh, now she's happy. It's like, yes, I want this relationship to happen because it's something I grew up with, and that's baggage I brought.
Right.
So.
What is this? Some kind of Justice League?
We should have our own Justice League of our own. Favorite.
Batman is my favorite out of the comic, and
Right.
in this movie, I think it's Batman still. It's Batman
Yeah,
still
it is.
because
Even though I didn't do anything?
even Batman still, because the thing is, like, you get to know Batman a lot more, and that's the tough thing with this film. It's like you get like Batman physically on the battlefield shows how like sometimes he's not useful, and Alfred says like, hey, those are our big guns. Those are some fucking big ass guns. And Batman the entire time is pretty much just like feeling like shit because he let Superman die. And he's like, Superman's the only one that could have saved this world, and I let him die. And he's like, that whole line was like, he's more human than I ever was. Like, he had a life, you know, he has all this power, yet he chose to live.
I like that line too.
And there's other parts where, you know, he's talking with Wonder Woman. He's saying like, you know, on that part with heart, like I meant it, and like how he orchestrates the Lois Lane coming in to intervene, like. And that shows the Batman that I love, the Batman that always has a plan. And that's something no movie has actually ever had other than Dark Knight.
Other than Dark Knight.
Other than Dark Knight, when he had the sonar equipment and he says, when you're done, put your name in. Like, he knew that Lucius was going to leave. And so, like, seeing that happen, because I'm very tired of, like, a Batman that doesn't do detective work and that doesn't have a plan for everything. And those are the things that made Batman Batman, and which makes the reason of, like, oh, because Batman. Like, Batman wins in a fight because Batman.
Yeah.
So, I
I
mean,
thought they did great in the Nolan films with him doing detective work.
I mean, the one shot to me was like when like he was doing the ballistics of the bullet, and then the second time was when he looked up Catwoman heist, but then heist was spelt wrong, so that was like stupid.
Yeah. And
But
facial
I
tracking.
figured out like the
Joker.
parade.
Yeah.
He went in like streets because it was middle of the day.
Yeah. So I mean, like, oh, it was really cool to kind of like actually have him in this lab and stuff
Yeah.
like that, in a big, fully loaded like bat cave instead of like. And that's the sad thing with Nolan. Like, they never got to have a huge cave. They never got to have like the giant penny or the animatronic T-Rex or like the freeze gun. Like, you don't. You're
Playing card.
Like, we can have that in this one. We can have it, but we like. And that's why like I'm still excited to see it. I'm excited to see what Atlantis looks like. I'm excited to see what the Speed
I
Force.
think
is
Aquaman's
look
gonna be
like.
dope. Joyce Momoa was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He was a really good.
I thought you
Aquaman.
said Joyce.
Yep, Joyce Momoa. Joyce drinks mimosas.
Yes.
And I mean, I really love the fact that like Aquaman was the savage Aquaman here, and to me, I'm like referencing Brave and the Bold Aquaman, who's like, I'm here to fight. I'm a jolly dude. Let's do it. I'm all in. I'm all in. Instead of like the pretty boy who's kind of
Yeah.
like, I am the king and I'm righteous as hell. I'm like very
That's
much
the
like
only Aquaman that I knew
yeah.
of.
And that played a lot to like Marvel's version, which is Submariner, aka Namor, which is like this pompous asshole who's trying to get Susan Storm to marry him, which is dumb.
I really
But-
liked it. Ride's not over yet. My man.
My man.
Loved it.
My man.
Wow. That was thank you all for sticking around for this
Yeah,
long.
this episode is almost as long as the movie it is about.
Yes, this is
Yes.
true.
So-
So press play at the beginning of the movie when it comes out, and then just
Thank
listen to
you.
this as we go.
Except WB and holding us down
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
shall
let's keep
we?
going.
Shall we hold on for like
Another 30
15 more minutes?
to show them that people have that attention
Much we
span.
care.
I'm kidding.
I feel good. I feel
But
good.
so, hey, everyone listening, do some homework, watch some animated series, read some comics.
Watch
yeah,
the movie.
apparently I have
Watch
to
the
go and
movie.
read some comics and learn more
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
boom
Look,
I know there's
I
one
have so
playing
much
right
to
now.
know.
But also tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We wanna
please
hear
share
from
with us.
you.
We
Almost.
love hearing from y'all.
Yes, we've been getting lots of comments.
Yeah.
Not always good. That's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay.
All level of comments are welcome here.
All level.
Oh, wait. Rating.
Oh
No,
yeah,
no.
stars.
Rating.
Yep,
Stars.
I don't
it's
like
happening.
that. I
Yeah,
don't like
we've
that
done
we
it
do
every
that.
time. It's our
I
thing
know,
now.
but it's just I do
It's
it. very-
our thing, and we're owning it.
It's a token that doesn't mean anything. It's like, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
Okay.
Points
The
that don't
rating is
matter.
Fine.
Points that don't matter.
Fine.
Everyone's looking at me, so I'll go first.
Of course, you'll go first. You usually go last.
It's
I
your
know.
idea. It's like we're playing tag. It was your idea to play the
Tom
game,
Tag.
so you're it.
I give it a 3.9.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
What else did you give it? 3.9. You gave Thor a 3.9.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What? Yeah.
I give Thor a 3.9 because I feel like it was two movies. I give this a 3.9 because I know that this wasn't everything that it should have been.
Okay. I dig it.
And if I did see it, I would have liked it
Okay.
more. Okay. And that's why it's not a 4. My points, like my 3 point somethings, are like very big.
It's a scale of 1 to 5, but really there's like 50 points.
Really one,
Yeah,
one,
50
to, 1
points
to
in
30.
between.
There, it's like a ruler. There's like a. I would probably give it a 3.94.
3.9476.
6.
So 3.9?
7, 5, 3.
I'm going to cut you off at the point, the first point. So 3.9.
Round it down.
Fine.
All right.
Fine.
Ollie?
I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
All right.
And it only got that 0.5 because I really liked Batman and Wonder Woman in it.
All right.
Grandpa Ollie.
Yep.
Record shows today
No.
that's the lowest score.
No.
So far.
I can see it in Corey's eyes. I can see it in his eyes.
Corey's putting
We're
up
about to hold hands
victory
again.
sign.
It's a 2 for me. I think it has so much potential. I think there was a lot of shit that was cut out that was really important to the story.
You know what your
and
voice just sounded like to
caring
me?
about the characters. What?
Do you remember in Sixth Sense, the guy at the beginning that kills Bruce Willis's character, where he goes,
Oh God, yeah.
because you just said the way
Jesus.
that you said 2.
2.
Yeah.
I just feel 2.3. I mean,
Okay.
there was a lot missing. I'll stick with 2.
I hope I'm going
I'm gonna
west.
stick 2. I'll stick with what I said.
I hope I'm going east.
Yeah, that fucking killed me.
Oh my God. What have you done, Ollie?
This is east, and then 5 minutes of film goes by. We cut back to Flash. This is definitely east. Fuck you.
Corey's
Joss
like, you know
Whedon.
what?
That's Joss
1.5.
Whedon. I know it. Come on,
Oh
Joss.
my
You're better
God.
than that.
Yeah, you're better than that.
Anyway, 2.
Again,
Two.
it sounded like you said,
I'm gonna-
Josh, you're better than that.
No, it's a 2.
Just jossing you.
And
Just
if
jossing you.
there's an ultimate edition that comes out, I will reevaluate my rating.
I always reevaluate.
Yeah.
All
I
the
know
time.
you heard it.
It is, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, of the people that watch it.
We are
watch.
4
I
minutes
always wanna
away
say
from
watch.
being the whole movie.
We are
Yeah.
4 minutes away, and it is currently in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
This
and
is
I
how
had a
much we
migraine this
enjoy.
morning, so I love you all, and I'm still here.
This is how much we enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, this episode is coming out on Thursday, Thanksgiving. So
Yes.
happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
Yep.
holidays.
So listen to this while you go
Thanksgiving.
get fat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Eat whatever you eat.
Why
on
you gotta
Thanksgiving.
judge? Why you gotta judge?
I mean, get fat on food. I'm all about that. shit.
Yeah.
YOLO. You only live once.
Metaphoric.
So
And I will say just a big.
Yeah.
I think no. I want to speak for the rest of us. I want to say that I want DCU to continue to make
Yes.
films.
oh
Yes.
my
Absolutely.
gosh, yes.
Yes.
And as well, it's a learning experience because the thing
And
is,
this is to the studios. Leave the fucking directors alone. Let them make the movie they want to
Please.
make.
I'm going to say it like this. I won't compare them to them, but we've all had our Daredevils. We've all had our Ghost Riders. We've
Yep.
all had those films.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, everybody at home, we come together, like you always say, and you joke about to analyze these things. We
I don't
come
joke
together
about
to
anal.
talk. We come together to talk. We're not, when we set out to do this show, it wasn't to review things. It was to talk about things and have some fun and talk about the things that we like to talk about. Sometimes I don't know what everybody is talking
I'd
about.
call it an opinion talk show, if
In
anything.
an opinion talk show. So, yes, we said some things that we didn't like, but overall, I enjoyed it. It was fun.
I'm going to watch
I
it
want
again.
more.
I'm going to see it again.
I'm definitely
gonna
going to
see
watch
it
it
See
again.
it again.
Speaking of Thanksgiving, I want to thank anyone who bought all our shirts.
So far,
So far,
Yes,
we've got
thank
some
you so
shirt
much.
sales. So to
Yeah.
all y'all know who you are. Thank you very much. They're still on sale.
yes, they
You
are.
want to check them out until what's the last day?
December 6th.
December 6th is your last
Josh, if
chance.
I wanted to buy a shirt, where would I go?
That's
Oh
right.
my gosh, I'm glad you asked, Ollie. There are so many places that you can go. You can go on Instagram. The link is on the bio. What is that profile? It is Nerd on the Podcast. You can go on Twitter. It's there too. Nerd on the Pod. You can go to Facebook. Just search Nerd on the Podcast. You can go to YouTube. All of our episodes are there. They all are usually within a few hours or the next day. They're always going to be there. What else?
What if they forget everything?
Oh yeah, if they forget everything,
Everything. It's
Revaluate.
late.
it's very late.
Evaluate.
If they and I got to get up early. Anyway, if you forget all of that, everything, you're
Remember one thing.
Remember one thing. Nerdonthepodcast.com.
There it is.
I don't even think I can do my own
got there.
social media.
Where you can also donate if you like.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Where can they find you, Josh?
You can find me on Instagram, Joshua S. Manley. I almost said Nerd on the Podcast.
Well, it is true.
It is true.
What
You
about
can find
Twitter?
Me, you can find me on Twitter, just Josh and you.
God damn, don't look at me.
You can find me on Facebook, Joshua Manley. I'm always open to you guys reaching out to me, asking questions. Somebody reached out to me about audio. I love that. Ask questions.
I hate that.
We're actually we're actually going to be releasing a special episode soon that we go into all of our creative endeavors. It's just going to be kind of a bonus episode about us.
So make sure you hit subscribe to everything.
Yeah. You can find me on IMDb, Joshua Sterling, if you want to look into some of my credits. My website, soundsLikeSterling.com. You can find me on PSN, SterlingJ85. Let's play. It'll be fun.
Coolio. Ollie, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at FutureFoe. You can find me on Facebook at FutureFoe or /FutureFoe Plays. You can find me on Blizzard, FutureFoe pound 11785. Let's play some video games. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Batman.
Mr. Powers.
You can find me and the stuff I make with Tom at We Are Storyboard, BORED, on Instagram or wearestoryboard.com. You can find me at Corey89, or you can find me on Blizzard. It's Corthan, pound 1929. So find me. Let's play some games. Here's the Storm, Warcraft, whatever it is.
Is that a randomized number?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it.
Thomas.
You can find me at Tall Dark Not Ugly on everything. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. You can find me as Thomas Borsuth on IMDb and YouTube and Vimeo. And you can find some awesome stuff from Capeless Crusaders at thecapelesscrusaders.com and on their podcast.
Yes.
Shout out.
Thank you, everyone that's been listening to us nerd on about comic books and
For
rant
2 hours.
and analyze and discuss.
Yes.
Longest
It's one of our
episode.
favorite times of the week. It's my favorite time of the week.
Yeah,
I get to
I
meet
agree.
with these guys and talk about stuff.
So thanks for joining
And
us,
we love
guys.
hearing that you guys love hearing us.
Yeah.
And so keep that
Feels
up.
good.
Share the love, y'all.
Thank you so much, everybody at home, for listening. As always, nerd on.
Ending broadcast.